Some of you wonder why we're voting for Donald Trump. I want to be clear about a couple of things. These kind of units here, these are the ivory tower with the views of the cities, whether you're in New York City or wherever. The people like Donald Trump, the billionaires who live in these ivory towers, who bathe in these marble, bathrooms and these huge, gorgeous rooms and sleep in these big, comfortable beds. These guys, those guys, they don't have to go down there where we are. They don't have to go down there to the ground because, see, in the ground, they shoot at you. On the ground, they throw slings and arrows at you, and they call you the elite or the one percenters, or those who don't understand us because they're rich. But see, Donald Trump came down from the ivory tower, down from these heights, got down on the ground with us. And what do? We shot him. We threw everything we could throw at him. And yet and still, he stays on the ground, rallies with the people, in the trenches, arguing, yelling, getting yelled at, getting cussed at, being called a Nazi. Why? Why? Because he loves this country. He could stay up here in the ivory tower. He could stay up here and never have to ever see any of us again. Enjoy his money, enjoy his fame and his notoriety and his expensive cognacs and all of that shit. But he doesn't. He's taken on the job, the impossible task of giving a fuck about all of us, while half of us hate him. That's why he gets my vote.
I'm going to look you in the eyes, and I'm going to tell you the future. It's an American story, and that's why Americans are going to love it. People are going to build you up. God, are they going to? Because when you're great and new, we love you. Man, we'll build you into something that doesn't even exist. You're going to change the fucking world. But you know what? Once they've built you as high as they possibly can, they're going to tear you back down. It's the most predictable pattern. We build you into something that doesn't exist, and that means you have to try to be that thing. All day, every day. That's how it works. And we do it again, and again, and again. And I'm going to tell you the truth. You're going to be attacked, betrayed, exposed, and humiliated. And you'll survive that. A lot of people can climb that mountain. It's the way down that breaks them. Because that's the moment when you are truly alone. And what will you do then? Can you summon the will to fight on through all the pain and rise again? That will be the defining question of your life. And I think you already know the answer. And that's why we're all here. A shoe is just a shoe. Until somebody steps into it. Then it has meaning. The rest of us just want a chance to touch that greatness. And we need you in these shoes, not so you have meaning in your life, but so that we have meaning in ours. Everyone will be forgotten as soon as our time here is up. Except for you. You're going to be remembered forever. Because some things are eternal. And your story is going to make us fight and never give up.
Oh, this great country, this place that we love. We ask ourselves many, many times, why do we love our country so much when our country is going to hell in a handbasket? Yeah, we ask that. Yeah, we do. All right. Well, I'm going to occupy a little bit of your time I need to make a banner here real quick because I want to share this interview with you guys. This is a JD Vance interview. Give me a second here. I got to. I want to make sure I get all their info in here. Okay. Actually, I think I can make that one. No, I want to leave that on so that people can find them afterwards. This is an interview done by the Nelk Boys. Now, I'm not playing their opener or their commercials at the beginning and stuff because of the fact that we don't have that kind of time. So this is JD Vance entering the building and getting ready to go and meet with these young men. Want you guys to see this, see a little bit of a lighter side. I know we all have our opinions of JD Vance and everything else, but the fact of the matter is we do have to watch. We do have to pay attention. We have to learn what we can learn, and that's what we're going to do. So let's make this thing full screen. Let's make this full screen, and here we go.
What's up, guys? Say hello, welcome. How's it going? Hey, John, good to see you, man.
Hello, hello.
What's up, guys?
Let's go.
What's up, man? Call me Lady, please. Bradley, good to meet you. Yeah, good to meet you.
How are you?
How are you? Good. So are you guys in Vegas, or is this just
Based in Miami.
You're based in Miami, so you just came up here for this?
What do you mean? Of course.
We're
Yeah,
doing
of
you,
course.
and then we're doing also Dana White.
Oh,
later
nice.
as well.
Okay.
We're gonna catch
Okay.
up with him.
All right, that's exciting.
But dude, we're really appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Future
Thank you.
Vice President of the United States.
We got to win first, but thank you.
Got to win.
Yeah.
How does this all like feel to you?
Oh man, it's so wild. So the biggest difference from being, because I'm a senator right now, so you're still in government a little bit, but the biggest difference from where I was 2 weeks ago to today is you have a Secret Service detail, which you sort of see these guys all floating around in the background, and it just totally changes everything, right? So I went for a walk with my wife this morning, and there are all of these people just walking by like, oh, is that JD Vance? And they wouldn't have noticed me beforehand, but the reason they notice you now is because you have like 15 people following you around with guns
Yeah.
and bulletproof vests, right? So there's no, we're done being anonymous basically at this stage in our lives, but we're having a good time with it. I mean, it's cool. We get to fly around in our nice plane and get to meet a lot of people, and we're having a good time.
How is it having the Secret Service like around all the time?
Well, it's weird because there's no, like I said, you're not anonymous anymore, right? But then there are all these like weird little ways where they're just part of your lives, and they're great people, right? I mean, I haven't met a Secret Service agent yet that I don't like, but like for example, a couple of days ago, we were walking our dog. We were a really big dog, a German Shepherd, and the dog like goes to the bathroom like dogs do. And I look back at the agent who was on the detail, and I'm like, is this the sort of thing you're meant to protect me from? And her eyes got real big, like, is he really asking me to pick up dog shit right now? And of course I wasn't, right? That would be a totally ridiculous thing to do. But it's just think about it. You always have somebody part of your life now that's following you around. And that's just a totally different vibe.
So the Secret Service, they pick up for you?
No.
That's a huge
They
perk.
probably would if you asked them to, but I
Yeah.
feel like that'd be a really dickish thing to do, to ask them to pick up after your dog. So no, I feel like if they're going to take a bullet for me, that's enough. I can handle the dog.
It's pretty cool too, because I feel like, are you the youngest vice president to ever run?
I think so, or at least maybe not in the history of the country, but I'm certainly like in our generation, recent history. I know I'm the first millennial. So, to ever be on
39.
a second, I'm 39 years old. I turned 40 actually in a few days, which I'm very depressed about.
When's the 40th?
August 2nd, which I think is Friday.
What's good for the 40th?
Dang,
Are you like
Nothing anymore, man. I've got people following me around. I can't do anything fun. We're gonna go out to dinner with my wife and a bunch of friends and go swimming afterwards. That's about as much excitement as we can get into now. But
kind of
it'll be
sucks
good.
that the 40th lands on the VP run?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's funny. All my buddies who are, because we're all similar age, they all have 40th birthday parties, and they're going to do stuff fun. Like, I actually had a couple friends who came out to Vegas a few months ago, and they're like, "Ah, come out to Vegas with us." And I was just like, "No, unfortunately, that phase of my life is over."
You said it's
Yeah.
August 2nd?
August 2nd.
I don't think we're doing anything August 2nd.
He's trying to
I mean,
No
we'd
Camp
love to
David for the
attend.
I think
40th?
I'd get in a little bit of trouble hanging out with you guys on August 2nd, so I should chill. By the way, this is like your guys' brand of
This is
seltzer.
our seltzer Happy Dad. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So
That's
we just
exciting.
became the number 4 seltzer nationwide.
Oh,
We just
congratulations!
passed Bud Light Seltzer.
So you guys like started this. This is your business.
Started
Okay.
it from the ground up. Yeah.
Okay. Can I steal a pack? Is that all right?
100%. Yeah,
Give
we'll
it to the
load
crew.
up the plane with some.
We have to be careful though, because I can only take like $75 in gifts or something. So you have to tell me
Okay.
what the retail price
Okay.
is.
Wait, that's a
We have to-
thing?
We have to come under. Yeah, it's you can accept small gifts, but nothing big.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's a thing.
In as a VP or just in politics?
I think it's being a senator. Actually, I don't think it's
Senator.
running for office. I think
Okay.
it's being in office. But I always like check. It's one of these things where your life changes. Where if I go to dinner with my buddies, they love it now because I always pay. Because I'm never really sure if they're allowed to buy me dinner anymore, right? Because I don't want to have to email a campaign lawyer to go hang out with my buddies, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just pay for dinner. So of course they get the most expensive wine and the most expensive thing now. So it's great. I've got great friends.
Was being a VP like always a part of like your thought where you wanted to do in politics, or is just something that just kind of like you knew was coming, or was it kind of random?
No, totally random, right? So I ran for Senate. So I was a business guy. I started a venture capital firm and have been doing that for a while. And the home state senator where we live in Cincinnati, he dropped out, or I guess retired, I should say. And that was in 2021, decided to run for his seat. And that was the first time I'd ever been involved in politics. So I get elected at the end of 22 and, sort of have been a senator for the past 18 months or so. And then a few months ago, people start saying, I think Donald Trump may choose you as VP. And I'm like, no way. There's no way it's going to happen. And then like a couple months later, they start doing vetting, which is a totally bizarre experience. By the way, we could talk the whole time about vetting. So like, for example, lawyer comes to your house, asks you the most obtrusive questions, the most intrusive questions imaginable, right? And my wife's sitting there. We have 3 kids upstairs asleep. And at one point, the lawyer is like, well, I'm going to ask some uncomfortable questions. And I'm like, okay, have at it. And he goes, do you have any secret family? And I'm like, are you serious? Do I have any secret family? Like, what do you mean? He said, well, sometimes people will have like, another spouse and they'll have like other kids in a place like Alaska. I'm like, dude, I've never even been to Alaska. Of course, I don't have a secret
You're
family.
getting grilled by the
And,
lawyer and your wife at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, by the way, if I did, I'm not going to admit it in front of my wife right now. Like, it's one of those questions where if you've gotten to that point in your life and you're such a dishonest person that you have a secret family in Alaska, I think that most people would just, I assume, hide it at that point.
Yeah.
But no, I don't have a secret family in Alaska. And it's all these just weird questions they ask.
Wow.
Because they want to make sure that they're prepared for the news media firestorm. So it's a pretty wild experience.
How did Mr. Trump ask you to become VP?
So for a couple months, you sort of knew that you were on the short list, right? So they were, asking about everything you'd ever said and asking about everybody and do you have any family members that might say something negative? They're just doing kind of a basic, they call it vetting, and they're trying to find out everything. So I knew I was at least on the short list for a little while. But the Monday morning of the Republican National Convention, that's the first day of it, we fly to Milwaukee we have 3 little kids, 7, 4, and 2. So we fly to Milwaukee and I have no idea what's going on. And the plane doesn't have Wi-Fi on it. So it's about an hour flight and I land and I've got like 350 messages, right? And one of them is from somebody on the Trump campaign and says, hey, check your phone. Make sure you don't miss a call because a really important call's coming. So I'm like, oh shit, right? Either a good call or a bad call, but it's an important call. And about an hour later, I get another message from the same person who says, hey, you just missed a really important call. So I'm like, oh no. So I call Trump and I'm like, hey, sir, what's going on? He's like, JD, you missed a very important phone call. And now I'm going to have to pick somebody else. And I like tense up and almost have a heart attack. And the crazy thing about it is my son, who's 7, is in the hotel room with me. And he's really into Pokemon cards right now. He's going through a Pokemon phase. Are you guys into Pokemon?
I was back in the day.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big phase right now, I think, in general.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's really into it. So he's trying to talk to me about Pikachu. And I'm on the phone with Donald Trump. And I'm like, son, shut the hell up for 30 seconds about Pikachu. This is the most important phone call of my life. Please just let me take this phone call. And he doesn't care. He's like, he doesn't know what the president of the United States means. So Trump hears him and says, who is that? I'm like, that's my 7-year-old son. He's like, put him on speakerphone. And so I do. And Trump proceeds to read the statement that he's about to put out, making me his VP nominee. And he asked my son, he's like, what do you think about that? And my son's like, oh, it sounds pretty good, you know? And he goes, okay, fine. And he hangs up the phone and the statement goes out 5 minutes later. And then my whole life changed. And that's how it
Wow.
happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
pretty
what
wild.
was the initial reaction that you felt just from the people of being the nomination?
First of all, people were super supportive and excited, right? So, you know, you're at the RNC convention. There's, I don't know, 10,000, 15,000 people there. And the biggest news of the week is who's the VP nominee going to be. So as soon as it gets announced, there's just this rush of positive attention and people, you know, hugging you. Everybody you see is backslapping you. And that's very positive, very fun. My wife, who doesn't like love the spotlight, she's not sort of one of these people who loves politics. She doesn't seek it out. She even was kind of getting into it because people were just so nice and friendly and, you know, saying all kinds of good things. And then, you know, for a few days, I sort of joked that I got like a 24-hour honeymoon because everything goes really well. And then, of course, the media starts attacking you,
Right.
which is what you sign up for and you expect it. But it's been, I mean, 95% positive. It's just been a very cool experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, just like you take since he asked me to be his nominee, right? So been in Milwaukee, I've been to Vegas, we're going to Reno today. I've been to California, I've been to Michigan, I've been to Wisconsin, I've been to Pennsylvania. I mean, like I've seen more in the country in the past 2 weeks.
I just wanted to ask, when did your opinion change on Trump? Because you weren't a Trump supporter back then, and what led to that?
Yeah. So it's funny because for a long time until Biden had this big debate gaffe that blew up his whole campaign, there was this thing where the media would say, well, Biden has bad memory, but so does Donald Trump. And I'm always like, what the hell are you talking about? Donald Trump remembers in excruciating detail everything I said about him 9 years ago, right? The guy has a memory like a steel trap. I wish that his memory was like Joe Biden. But, you know, yeah, I was critical of Trump in 2015, 2016. And I think like there are a lot of different things you could say about it. But fundamentally, it boils down to two things. Number one, I didn't think he was going to be a great president. I, in fact, thought he was a really good president, like certainly the best president of my lifetime. And so when the facts change, I think thinking people should change their mind, right? Okay, I was wrong about the guy and he was great. But there's something a little bit deeper, actually, where I kind of learned that the media is so dishonest about Trump that a lot of the things that I thought about him in 2016 weren't just like, you got to change your mind. It's just outright that was false. So, for example, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was this thing that happened in Charlottesville where white supremacists killed this girl, and very tragic situation. And the media said, well, Trump stood up for the white supremacist. And there was a time in my life where I would have believed the media, what they said about it. And then you go and read the transcript of what he actually said. It's like, wait a second, he actually condemned the white supremacist. He never said that there were very good people on both sides. What he said is that some of the protesters were good people, not like the white supremacists who murdered this girl. And you realize so much of what the media says about this guy is totally dishonest. I think once you accept that frame of mind, you start to think for yourself a little bit. And when I started doing that, I started realizing, one, he's a good president, but two, he's just not the guy. He's not the scary person the media makes him out to be.
Yeah, this is like the most sort of concerning thing, I think, as just a person in general, specifically in the United States, is like, where do you actually trust and what do you actually trust? Because there's so much backing from big companies, big tech, where it's like they're invested in one side winning versus the other side losing. And it just becomes this really weird space where you're like, what is actually real? And you yourself even admit to seeing something some way and just taking it for what it was and then seeing it change. My question for you is like, as this all progresses, like, for example, this currently you try to Google the attempt assassination on Donald Trump and it doesn't even come up.
Crazy. Yeah.
And it's like, that's one of the most concerning
That
things.
shit's crazy.
It's like
you type in assassination of TRU and
Yeah.
it doesn't autocomplete Trump.
Yeah.
It happened 2 weeks ago.
And then you look at the biggest donors for like the other side we're talking about as far as like the Biden Harris campaign. And it's like Google is one of their biggest donors.
Yep.
So
And that's public.
that's public.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's all real.
Google is
That's right.
the biggest donor to the Democrat
Oh, and
Party.
their employers are huge donors of the Democrats. I mean, it's I know friends who work there. I know friends who involved in the tech sector. Google is a straight up insane company. The people, the senior leadership, the people who run the search algorithms, it is effectively a left-wing propaganda machine. And there are all these other ways you come up to. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No, you're great.
like this was a thing that I like a couple of years ago when I was doing my Senate campaign. Somebody said, go and Google, can a man get pregnant? And I was like, well, why would I do that? I know the answer to that question. He's like, just go do it. you type into Google, I don't know if this is still true, but it was true 2 years ago. Can a man get pregnant? And the first search result is yes, a man can get pregnant. In fact, it happens more often than people think.
What the
Right.
fuck?
Yeah. It's a weird company, but it actually, you realize it controls the flow of information in our country.
But that's what's scary, because like most people are not going to do like any sort of research or looking in deeper,
Yeah.
and they just take it for face value. So it's just kind of like, where do we go from here as technology advances and as like that sort of side of things just becomes more and more powerful? Like, how do we actually know what's real?
Well, that's a good question, man. I think part of it is you have to accept, if you're a consumer of information, that everybody's trying to sell you something, right? And you can't just assume because you go in and Google something, it's true. And you can't assume because you go and watch something at YouTube or go and watch something, I mean, even a Rumble, like, no, you have to sort of think for yourself. And you have to assume that somebody's trying to filter their own bias and put it into something that you're consuming. And that's kind of the attitude that I take towards news. And you just have to, as much as possible, think for yourself. I actually think it's better now than it was 5 years ago, because yeah, Google's still crazy, but now people are watching podcasts like yours. I mean, millions of people watch your podcast, right? So just this movement of people thinking for themselves, I think, is a much bigger deal and has changed the way we consume information. And we just have to keep on going down that pathway of being skeptical, thinking for yourself, consuming alternative sources of information. And that's probably how you break the fever, but it is a problem, right?
Yeah.
Let me give you another example of Google, right? So what do you think is the biggest email client in the world? It's probably Gmail. In fact, I'm almost certain it's Gmail,
Yeah.
right? I use Gmail, so I'm not criticizing, but one of the main ways we fundraise for political campaigns in our country, I don't know how they do it in Canada, but you send text messages, right? Or you send emails. Well, let's say that Google filtered 90% of the Republican fundraising emails into spam, but only filtered 10% of the Democrat fundraising emails into spam. Well, the Democrats are going to raise way more money. That's not hypothetical. That is exactly what happened. In fact, we've tried to file a lawsuit against Google to try to get that changed. But there are all of these weird, subtle ways where Google and companies like it try to control the flow of information. And I think the long-term solution, just one more thing on this, is we have to promote a culture of technology innovation where new companies can take on the big guys. Because in Silicon Valley, the big tech companies, they're all crazy, right? They're all dominated by insane people. Whereas the little tech companies, the upstarts, right, the Bitcoin guys and the AI guys, a lot of them are a lot more rational and a lot more independent. Maybe they're libertarian, maybe they're liberal, but they at least think for themselves. We got to empower them to try to take on the big incumbents. And that's one of the things these guys try to prevent.
All right, guys, I'm going to interrupt the pod really quick. I want to let you guys know about my favorite healthy snack, board jerky. All right, you guys know, you've seen me. I'm trying to be a little more healthy these days. I was getting too many comments. You guys telling me I look pregnant and shit. I was staying up all night crying. So now I'm into healthy snacks, and board jerky is one of my favorites. This jerky, if you guys try it, I don't even have to say it. Try it for yourself. The quality of the jerky is absolutely unbelievable. And I'm a big jerky guy, and this jerky is by far the best. I'm traveling a lot all the time, so I always have board jerky on me when I get hungry. There's 4 different flavors. My favorite's the original. The macros are unbelievable. There's lots and lots of protein. So it's just a great healthy snack. Keep the barrel in check. But yeah, trust me, if you guys like jerky, try this out. And when you try it, you'll thank me. It's available on Amazon.com. The reviews are going through the roof. Everybody loves it. So go to Amazon.com right now. Give board jerky out a try. Keep it in your gym bags. Keep it in your backpacks. This is my favorite healthy snack. It's on me all the time. Amazon.com, board jerky. Let's get back on the pod.
Yeah.
Is it going to be harder this time around for like Google and those companies to pull the stuff that they did last election cycle?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think it probably is harder because people are just much more skeptical of accepting the narrative. I see this a lot in college campuses. In 2016 and 2020, there was a real fear of people. They didn't want to be ostracized. They didn't want to say what was actually on their mind. They were a little bit terrified of the social pressure. I just think people give much less shit about it than they did 4 years ago, and certainly than eight years ago. And I do think that is empowering, right? Courage is contagious. And the more that people, again, trust their own instincts and consume their own information, I think that it empowers the truth to come out a little bit more. But I won't present the bias isn't there, but I think it's probably less powerful than it was a few years ago.
I think people have just seen too over the past 4 years what a shit show it's been.
Exactly.
And how bad Biden's been. I know, Brad, you tweeted
That's right.
about it too, right? how everyone's kind of coming out of the woodwork now
Yeah.
and supporting Trump.
Yeah.
Like I remember when we had him on our podcast near the last election,
I watched. That was a good episode.
we got a lot of shit for it. And
Oh,
and
I'm
now
sure.
it's just completely different where everyone in our like community and space is like now supporting Trump, and like it's just crazy to see how much, you know, everyone's kind of flipped, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it is. It is a good thing, and I think, especially, I mean, you guys are probably in your 20s, early 30s.
I just turned 30.
Wait, hold on, Brad. Are you older?
I'm 35. Yeah.
Okay.
35. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you
All
got
right.
a shot at me? I don't know.
No, I
you got the VP right here. You trying to take
No,
shots?
no,
Like,
I
what?
wasn't too straight. My
You
bad.
only- come on, man.
My
Get
bad.
it together.
My bad.
Steiny's
This
32,
is, the
right?
guy, this is the guy who buys you beer when you guys. go
Yeah.
out for-
He's been that guy
Yo,
for a
How
while.
old are you? Tell me how old you are.
Around
Shut
30.
up, man.
But so what I think is definitely true for like young Americans, especially, and I'm 39, so you know, people call 39-year-olds geriatric millennials because we're millennials, but we're sort of on the older side of the millennial generation. I do think, like, look, if you want to buy a home, it's got a hell of a lot harder to do that under the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden administration, right? If you want to sort of take a vacation, it's gotten a lot more expensive. If you just want to live in a safe community, that's gotten harder because there's more drugs coming across. People, you know, believe their own eyes more than they believe that the narrative the media sells. And I don't know how Kamala Harris can look at the country and say, look, things are way better than they were 4 years ago. She just can't do that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Were you surprised by the way things played out with that, or did you guys see it coming?
You know, a little bit. Like, it's funny. The president, meaning President Trump, was way less surprised about it than I was, and I think his campaign was way less surprised about it. I mean, because again, I knew I was being vetted, and I remember talking to somebody on his campaign in early June, and this was even before the debate debacle, and she was like, "Look, we think there's a really good chance that if you get picked, you're not going to be debating Kamala Harris. You're going to be debating whoever Kamala Harris chooses, because we don't think Joe Biden can survive." The poll numbers were just so bad. He's just so bad that they didn't think he would make it to November. And they were right, of course. So, I mean, it's kind of shocking when it happens, even when you expect it to happen. So I guess I expected it to happen, but I was still surprised when he actually pulled the trigger. He's the president of the United States. Think about this. And he just sent a letter out one day and said, "I'm not running for president anymore." That's never happened in the lifetime of any person in this room.
Yeah.
Is that
Also,
even,
like,
is that even legal? Like the way
Well,
that, because
well,
I'm reading a bunch
it's
of
weird.
I'm reading a bunch of stuff, and it's like, didn't they just bypass? They're supposed to be the party for democracy,
yeah.
Yes,
So
and
this
they
is
kind of
important.
just
This is a very important
bypassed.
point.
Yeah.
I
They
agree.
bypassed like the total
No,
democratic process.
Well, because they sit
Yes.
on a side and they say, you know, Donald Trump is against democracy.
Yeah.
But they're also now they held someone long enough to pass up where they could actually vote for a new kind of like nominee, and then they just picked who they wanted.
That's
So
exactly
there's
right.
actually no democracy in that.
Not at all. And 14 million people, look, it's not my party and I wouldn't have voted for him, but 14 million people voted for him to be the nominee of the Democrat Party.
Yes.
How many people have voted for Kamala Harris to be the nominee of the Democrat Party?
None.
Zero. Right?
Yeah.
Not a single person. So it's funny. They accuse me and Donald Trump of being threats to democracy. Like, Trump is the most popular person in the party. He still ran through the primary process because that's what you have to do, right? You have to persuade voters that you're the guy. That's kind of how this system works. And basically what happened is Barack Obama, the Clinton family, and a few billionaires got in a room together and said, "Hey, this guy's political dead weight. Let's throw him overboard." And that's really creepy if you think about it. But then you realize he's the president of the United States, and it kind of makes you question, what is the real power center in this country?
Yeah,
If
unelected
a few
officials.
billionaires and a few unelected officials can throw the president overboard. I think, you know, I've tried to make this argument to Democrats is, look, if you are uncomfortable by how this process shaked out and you feel kind of insulted as a voter, vote for Republicans. You may not agree with us on everything, but at least in our party, we believe you should have to persuade people, not try to run this corrupt process in the background.
It's
Yeah.
weird how it's always it's weird. I don't know. It's like these are the bad people, but they're doing the bad things.
That's right.
And it's interesting.
You know what I've
It
noticed
is interesting.
for the younger people too, for like the younger voters, what I've noticed is how big social media's played.
Yeah.
You said you're a millennial.
Yeah.
So have you noticed, and has that been better for you playing in the social media? Because what I noticed too is whenever you go on TikTok, you scroll 3 times, you see Joe Biden falling off his bike. You only see negative things, right?
Yeah.
So anything you say now can get clipped up.
That's right.
So has that played a role for you?
Yeah, it has. I mean, you know, I think just instinctively I understand social media a little bit better because I'm sort of the generation of social media. You know, Facebook became a really big thing. I was in the Marines, but towards the end of my Marine Corps career, and then as I got into college. And so I think we use it more. Like I don't, most politicians, they have a staff member who sort of runs their Twitter. I don't do that. Like I just put it, whatever, I guess that's X now, but I just put whatever I want to on X. And sometimes I get in trouble for it, but I just think it's much more important to be unfiltered and to be like a real human being. You're going to make mistakes sometimes, but real humans make mistakes. But I do think our engagement is a lot higher because of it. And, this was one thing that came out of because I'm not a big TikTok guy, and we're starting to try to use TikTok. But not my account, but there was a ton of TikTok activity that was positive in the Milwaukee convention because I took my kids for a walk in downtown Milwaukee, right? And do you guys know this movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall with Russell Brand? It's like
I watched it on the plane the other day.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time. So I'm walking downtown Milwaukee.
It's a great movie.
Sorry.
It's
I think he's lying about
what,
watching
are you an
it today.
anti-Forgetting Sarah
No,
Marshall guy?
I love it, but I think he's making that up that he watched it today. That's all. I'm sorry.
I recently just went through a breakup.
Okay.
So
He watched it with his ex. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, man.
yeah, it's
I
okay.
started to bring up bad
Hopefully
stuff.
this interview will help me get her back.
I hope you're doing okay. Let me know if I can help. So Russell Brand is the rock star in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I'm walking downtown Milwaukee with my 3 little kids, and Russell Brand comes in the other direction. It's like one of the few times I've ever been starstruck in my whole life. My favorite line of that movie is "Take my eyes, not the shirt." You know
Yeah, Jonah Hill.
yeah, exactly. So that interaction got a ton of viral content on TikTok. And so, yeah, we try to use it. And even when we don't try to use it, I think we benefit from it because, I'm not falling off my bike or falling down the stairs.
And I think it makes like the younger audience way more relatable with you, Trump, than like the Democratic Party.
I think so. And the thing that Republicans, we really do have going for us is because we're so sick of being filtered and we're so sick of being told what we're allowed to say and what we're allowed to think is Republicans are just much more comfortable with humor, right?
Yeah.
Trump is, all these great leadership qualities. I love the guy, but he's also just funny as shit.
For sure.
Right?
One of the
Yeah.
funniest guys ever.
Oh, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. You spend time with Trump, you're like, oh my God, this dude is off the charts funny.
He's so funny.
And like, I'll tell you his story. So again, my wife doesn't love the spotlight. We're doing this fundraiser for Trump in my hometown of Cincinnati, and raising a lot of money. And then you do photos. The way these fundraisers always work is you do a line of photos, and we finally, like, my wife and I are the last people in line, and he gives Usha a big hug. He's like, Usha, you look so beautiful. I'm so glad to see you. And then he's like, what do you think about politics? And she gives this super diplomatic answer. She's like, well, sir, JD really believes in it, and he really believes in public service, and I'm glad to be supportive of him. And he looks at her and says, yeah, my wife hates it too. And it's just, he's got a natural humor to him that I do think makes him much more relatable.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is Kamala Harris funny? No, right?
No.
She's just not.
But her laugh sucks too.
Yeah, well, more than that. It makes me, it's like, makes you feel kind of creeped out a little bit, right? Like, why is she laughing at the things that she laughs at? But yeah, Trump is just, he's got a good sense of humor, and that helps him, I think, politically.
What's the worst things about Kamala Harris? I just reminded me when you said laughing, like she was laughing about not going to the border and all those interviews, which is just weird. But what do you think's, like, to our audience, like, what are the main scary things about Kamala Harris becoming president?
One is, okay, I don't actually think Kamala Harris, like, if you want to do this job, you should care about public policy, right? Like, policy makes people's lives better. And I've never seen an interview with Kamala Harris where I'm like, oh, she really cares about this thing, and she really wants to do this thing to make people's lives better. Like, I just don't think, I think she just doesn't actually care that much about the details, and that's not the kind of president you want. My biggest issue, because I think it's transformative in a bad way for the country, is like, you can't let 25 million people in your country illegally with no control. The drug cartels have taken over. You've got record amounts of people dying of fentanyl, which we know the drug cartels are bringing in. Like, all these problems with the border, she is the border czar, and she hasn't done anything about it, right? So if your job is to secure the southern border, and you've been in power for 3.5 years and you didn't do shit, you don't get a promotion. You should get fired, right? And I think that's a big, big part of what's wrong with her entire campaign, is she's sort of trying to run away from the Biden record because she knows it's not popular. But you were the vice president. Clearly, this guy's like practically brain dead. Clearly, you were the person driving the ship here, and you were his vice president, and you own a lot of these failures. But I mean, there are little things. I mean, we could talk for so long about some of these issues, but I'm a big believer that we have to, like, build more stuff in America. Like I come from a manufacturing town. We got to make more stuff. If you want to make more stuff, you have to have low cost energy. Well, she wants to destroy the American energy economy in the name of green energy, which is just going to ship manufacturing to China, which is the dirtiest economy in the world. So if you actually care about clean air and clean water, which I do, you don't want to ship manufacturing to China. You want to bring it home. But her policies have the exact opposite outcome. So just a whole host of things she's wrong on the policy. Something the media doesn't pick up on that I think should become a bigger issue is staff turnover goes to whether you can get good people to work in your government, right? The presidency is too big for any one person. You make the big decisions, but you need people to work for you. She has 92% staff turnover.
Wow.
How can you staff a government if 92% of the people who work for you don't want to work for you? That's a bad thing.
Meaning people are like quitting the
Quitting,
administration.
Yes.
Is there any
During the last 4 years?
People who work for her, correct.
Oh, just
92%
over her
turnover, yeah.
career.
Has there been any like rationale or why that's happened?
I've heard different stories, and I don't put much stock in what I read in the media. I mean, what I've heard is that she's just like yells at people a lot. She's mean. She's kind of insecure, and you combine insecure with mean. Like you can do one of those two things maybe and be a decent boss, but you can't do both of them. But I don't know. I just know that the data is the data, and she has really bad staff turnover. But we need good people. Like I'm a Republican. I don't want her to win, but if she wins, you need good people to actually work in the government. And I think it's going to be a problem if she wins.
Going back to X, wanted to ask, what's your relationship with Elon Musk?
Yeah, so I knew it back in my tech days. I knew Peter Thiel is a very good friend of mine, and Peter and Elon sort of got their start in Silicon Valley together. And so I kind of knew Elon a little bit through Peter. And then, Elon, not all that different from me, has had a bit of a political awakening over the last few years. I think like a lot of us is just looking around and saying, this is too crazy. What happened to common sense? And I think that's why he bought X. Like, I actually think it was, who knows if he'll ever make any money over it, but he wanted to buy X to ensure that there was actually a place for free speech on the internet. And he believed that was important because he recognized that people's opinions were being censored by the Googles and the Facebooks of the world. So I don't know him super well, but we hang out, we text every now and then, and we sort of bounce ideas. He's a very funny guy. I don't think the people, the media realizes this, but something about Elon that I care about, I don't know if anybody else cares about it, but one of my big things is I think way too much of the modern economy is kind of fake. Like if you look at Google, like what is Google's actual business? Google sells digital advertisements based on the search results, right?
Yeah.
What is Facebook's business model? To sell digital advertisements based on how people use Facebook. Elon is building rockets that go to the moon and Mars, right? He's building a real business. And I love that you have an entrepreneur like that who's kind of in the old American model of like Howard Hughes of, I'm going to build really cool shit that goes to space. And I think it's really inspiring to people that he's not just like trying to sell targeted ads to a smaller and smaller slice of the country. He's trying to build big things. He's building, whether it's solar panels or electric cars or rockets, or he's trying to connect the entire world through satellite internet. He's just doing a lot of cool stuff. And it's harder to do that stuff because you got to deal with regulators in Washington and people come after you. But I think it's much more productive and it's a lot cooler.
I have a question about just obviously, running and being in politics. Do you take what sometimes the media says about you personally? Like, I don't know if you saw that there was like a whole clip of like people calling you weird. Did you see that? It was like a clip of like,
I certainly know the Kamala campaign wants to call me weird. But
yeah, but I'm wondering why that word, and because like it was on like it was like clipped on like 1,000 different media outlets. Like they were all using the same word.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like something they focus grouped and decided to push on us. I mean, like I'm a pretty normal guy. I've got a wife and kids, and I like to hang out and watch football, and I care about this stuff because I care about the country.
Yeah.
My attitude on this is, my best guess, this is just a total guess, is that her campaign is run by a lot of like 24-year-old social media interns who maybe were bullied in school, and so now they've decided they're going to do the same thing. They're going to take that like attitude of the middle school social scene and try to run a campaign on it. I just don't think most Americans buy it or care.
Yeah.
But they're certainly pushing it. I'm certainly aware of it. But my attitude is like, I'm just going to be who I am. And if they want to attack me for whatever they're going to attack me on, that's fine. You just got to kind of power through it and do your thing.
Yeah.
She's been attacked for a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's like the people who call me weird want to give like hormone therapies and sterilize 9-year-olds. Like I think it's a lot weirder than you know, me just like living a normal life with my kids and my wife. But this is what they do, I think, is they latch onto a message and they try to sell it even if it's fake. And I think, you know, again, to go back to something Trump said, where we were talking about Trump earlier, is Trump's superpower in politics is he just doesn't give a shit, right? He doesn't care what they say about him. He's going to be himself. He's going to tell jokes. He's going to say things that drive some people off a wall. But then when you actually listen to what he said, he's like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that you just, if you're going to be in politics in the social media age, you've got to kind of have a thick skin and just do what you need to do.
And they'll dig up anything from your history.
I've learned that the hard way the last few days, man.
Let's see how much sugar is in the leading hard iced teas. The competition has 20 grams of sugar per can, and there's 12 cans in the case, which comes to 240 grams. Let's measure that. So that's 69 sugar cubes per case. Instead, Happy Dad hard iced tea has 1 gram of sugar per can, or only 12 grams of sugar for the entire case. That's only 3 sugar cubes. Drink Happy Dad hard iced tea and don't feel guilty about it.
Well, I have a question about before this question.
Sure.
We were talking about like the sterilizing of kids and all this stuff. Like, what do you think the actual purpose of that shit is?
I don't know, man.
Like, what would the...
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I had a friend from law school. I got into a big argument about this with a few years ago, and you know, we're basically not friends anymore, which is sad because I love this person. But you know, I think part of it is these people think that everything that's different about men and women is, they use this word, socially constructed, right? It all comes from culture. And it's like, we all know this, right? Men and women, yeah, some of our differences are cultural. Some of our differences are just basic biology, right?
Yeah.
And I think they're so uncomfortable with that they try to biologically change men into women and women into men. Because if you can get rid of the biological differences, then you can kind of get rid of all the other differences too. And I think you guys know Tucker Carlson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tucker and I have talked a lot about this, but you know, men and women being different to me is not like a bad thing. It's a source of one of the coolest parts about being like a living, breathing human being in the world, right? Is women think about stuff slightly differently than men do, and that is a good thing. And we shouldn't try to like destroy those differences in the name of equality. We should give women and men equal opportunity and equal chances.
Yeah.
But sometimes people are going to make different choices, right? And that's okay. And because men and women make different choices, that's like not an excuse to sterilize kids to try to turn a girl into a boy or vice versa. But that's what they're doing. And man, the tell on this stuff, like I really didn't care about this stuff until a few years ago. I think maybe being a father changes your mind a little bit on this stuff. But the tell for me was when they started saying, well, this stuff is totally reversible. If you give hormonal therapies to a 9-year-old kid, that is not totally reversible. I mean, these kids have like bladder problems and other stuff that's just gross. And why are we doing this to our kids without any real confidence in the science? It makes you realize, frankly, a lot of the public health establishment in this country is pretty deranged.
And it's also a whole nother, like, I don't think people even recognize this. It's a whole nother, like, a revenue source for the pharmaceutical industry, where it's like, they're making it like I forget what the word is when you can get your insurance to pay for something, where it's like if it's a life you need it.
Yep.
They're making
then
like
it becomes reimbursable.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's like people don't even recognize that.
Dark.
Where
Dude,
now it's
yes, that's the exact right word for it. It's dark. I mean, dude, like one of the things I actually agree with, at least the old school left on, is you got to be careful about when big corporations use financial incentives to control the government, right? Yeah. Like you don't want people getting rich because they passed a law.
I know.
You want people getting rich because they make products that people need, right? So this is always a criticism that the old left made about American healthcare is you don't want to force doctors to give people something just because it's going to make some pharmaceutical company rich, right? That doesn't make any sense. And yet we right now are giving kids hormonal therapies. Pharmaceutical companies are making billions of dollars off of this shit.
Yeah.
And none of us are looking around and saying, well, wait a second. Is this good because they're making money off of it? Or is it good because it's actually in the best interest of these kids? And that is something, again, the Democratic Party of 30 years ago would have went wild over this because it's money intersecting with medicine in a way that's really bad for human beings. And now the only people talking about it are Republicans.
You know, it's weird. I saw the Gavin Newsom pass that bill recently about how if a kid wants to become trans at school, they don't have to tell the parents,
which is sick.
which I blew my mind to even hear something like that.
Yeah, which is sick because I mean, like all of us have been teenagers before. All teenagers go through awkward phases where they don't exactly know what their place is. Or
Yeah.
people go through emo phases, or they dye their hair black. Like every kid goes through some developmental phase where they're confused. And what this weird movement is doing is encouraging people to like latch onto their insecurities, not tell their parents about them, right?
Yeah.
And then I haven't confirmed this, so check my facts here, but I've also heard that in California, like if you're a parent and you think maybe it's a little crazy to give your 12-year-old hormonal therapies, you can be at risk of having your kids taken away. Like I'm a father of 3. That would make me go absolutely like, we're moving to the hills. Keep your hands off my kids. This is crazy town.
But also another level to that is in that bill that he's talking about passing this, like,
Yeah.
it's the gender affirming care. They don't have to tell the parents. So the kids are just talking to some random adult about how they feel a certain way.
Absolutely.
And like, that's even beyond what you're saying, even more concerning, because it's like that human
Yes.
being could have completely different biases.
Yeah.
And so they're going to input them on whoever's the kid is telling them,
Yeah.
like how I feel.
And not just biases. I don't trust some stranger to talk to my kid about their sex and their gender.
Period.
Right?
Like I don't,
period.
whether
right?
it's that or just the normal shit. It's like, why are you just not talking to kids about fucking math and
Yes, exactly. And
school shit?
yeah, and by the way, we're falling behind in math and reading. So we our leaders are trying to convince our teachers to talk to kids about gender reassignment when they're 12 years old. Meanwhile, we don't do math as good as we used to. We don't do reading as good as we used to. Maybe we should focus on the shit that schools are actually supposed to teach kids. Again, it's it's common sense, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, that's their view, is that we should be teaching kids gender reassignment, and they think that we're weird. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Did you see all the Olympic stuff?
That was bizarre.
Oh man, a ceremony shit.
That
Opening
was so
ceremony.
weird.
It's just like a slap in the face to Christians and anybody who has, I would say, aesthetic sense, right? It wasn't just weird.
I think
it was
all
ugly.
religions.
It was ugly. Like I watched this thing, and like you want the Olympic opening ceremony to be beautiful, right? You want it to like elevate the human spirit, and it's just this creepy thing where people are dressed up as these little nymphs doing the last. I was grossed out by it.
Some guys' balls, like, what's the purpose though? Is it just like, do you think they do it to cause, like, we know this is probably going to get like more attention?
Yes, I think they do it to cause shock, and that's why I try to just ignore this stuff. Like I saw the Olympics opening ceremony for a couple minutes. I turned it off. I tried not to think about it anymore. But yeah, this is the thing that I feel like art, the idea of art in its best form, right? And I'm not like an art guy. The first time I ever went to an art museum, I think, was when my wife made me go. But at its best, right, it's uplifting the human spirit. It's showing you beautiful things. It's making you think of what's possible. Whatever this is, it's not that, right? It's just shocking people to try to draw attention, which maybe works for social media clicks, but I think it makes our whole society a lot darker.
I know you're against like a lot of wars and stuff.
Yeah.
What was it like when you were serving in Iraq?
Yeah, I mean, so I went into the Marine Corps in 2003, and so my grandma had 6 grandkids, and 3 of us enlisted in the United States Marines. So it became kind of a family tradition thing. And I wasn't an infantryman, so I like the grunts, as we called them, had much more like direct access to danger than we did. And what, in Iraq, what was so weird about it, like the 2 things that really stuck out is, sometimes you're just like hanging out and mortar or rocket fire starts raining down, and you've got a shelter in place, and you're like, what the hell are we actually doing here? Shouldn't we go out and like get the guys who are shooting rockets at us rather than just sort of, go hide in a bunker every time they fire? That was one thing. The second thing that was really weird is they had me do security for the Iraqi poll workers, because you guys are probably too young to remember this, but 2005 was the big Iraqi parliamentary elections. And you remember like where people stuck their fingers in the ink and then raised their purple finger to show that they had voted. We were doing security for those poll workers. And what was so weird about it is a lot of American leaders had convinced themselves that we were there for democracy. We were there to bring democracy to Iraq. And even the poll workers didn't give a shit about democracy, right? They just wanted to live in a safe place. Like they were pissed at America, but they weren't pissed at America because we were, more socially progressive than they were. We gave rights to gay people. Like that's not why they were pissed at America. They were pissed at America because we were the strongest country in the world, and we couldn't keep car bombs from blowing up in their markets. And they were just pissed off about it. And I kind of realized like all this high-minded bullshit you hear from American leaders about spreading democracy to the world. If we actually want to help the world, we should make it safer and have there be less killing. That is the best influence America can have in the world. And by the way, that is a huge difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Like Kamala Harris wants to send State Department dollars to people to do like trans pride parades overseas. Right? It's like my attitude is if you want to do a trans pride parade, that's your business. But why do American tax dollars have to fund this stuff? Donald Trump's attitude is I want to use American power to try to bring peace to the world. That sounds a hell of a lot smarter to me.
Yeah, the foreign policy stuff, like I just feel like Trump does such a good job with that, with like
Really
dealing
good.
with all the world leaders. And
Yeah.
right when Biden came into office, obviously the Ukraine Russia stuff started.
Yeah.
Iran's getting out of control.
Right. The Israel stuff started, right? They attacked, killed over 1,000 people. It's like every hotspot in the world became a war zone, and Donald Trump had it under control. This is, by the way, like one thing that the liberals, like they're just wrong about it. This is not a statement of opinion. This is a statement of fact. I've sat in classified briefings, and I'm not going to give anything away. I'm not going to, give state secrets away here. I don't want the police to knock down the door, but world leaders were terrified of Donald Trump, right? And there's something to be said for actually having a little bit of fear in people, right? It created deterrence.
Of course.
They were terrified that if they did something crazy, Trump would whack the shit out of them, and that kept a lot of bad people in line. That is a fact. And when liberals say that Donald Trump's foreign policy was erratic, well, if his foreign policy was erratic, why did we have so much fewer war all over the world? It doesn't make an ounce of sense.
Yeah, I was at the RNC too. And
Nice.
one thing that was really tough to watch was when they brought all the Gold Star
Man, it's so
families
sad.
on stage. And I obviously knew what a shit show the Afghanistan pullout was, but just hearing it from those families was like really heartbreaking to hear all that stuff.
It's so heartbreaking. And, these are really like the best of us. When I started the Marine Corps, I heard a colonel give a eulogy for a Marine of his who was killed. And he put it in this way that I thought was, because he's like a tough guy, but he put it in this way that I thought was really, really beautiful. He said, the people who go and die for our country, they're not the kids who didn't have opportunities. They're the smartest, the best looking, the most patriotic. They're the very best of us. And losing 13 of those kids for nothing, just because of pure stupidity from our leadership, is the most, it's maybe the most ridiculous mistake of the Biden administration. And Kamala Harris ought to own it, but of course she doesn't.
And just how he never mentioned their names, and during the ceremony, he's like looking at his watch. Like it's actually like hard to believe.
It's really sick. It's really sick. And you realize like the guy, Biden, people try to say he's a great guy. I don't know him super well. I do not think Biden is a great guy. I actually think Biden is a bad dude. And we're just seeing him sort of fall into, mental disrepair, but he was never a good dude. He was always what you see, the kind of guy who lets people die and then doesn't mention their name and stares at his watch when you're trying to memorialize these guys. That's just unfortunately who he is.
Well, I think you got to get going to this rally, which I think we're going to come with you. But one more question. Who do you think that is going to be the VP on the other side?
I don't know, man. There's a lot of rumor that's going to be this guy, Tim Walz, who's a governor from Minnesota. I don't know anything about him. He seems really angry. There's a lot of talk is going to be this guy, Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, who, I've seen a couple clips of him talking. He talks like Barack Obama. It's like if I did try to do a really bad impression of Barack Obama, that's what it would sound like, is this guy, Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. Yeah. Go watch a clip of his and tell me if you agree with me. And then there's a bunch of other names out there. My attitude is it doesn't really care as much as it doesn't really matter. As much as this is a hit to my ego, people are going to vote primarily for Donald Trump or for Kamala Harris. Right. That's the way these things go. And I think my job over the next few months is to just drive home the message that Kamala Harris has been a bad vice president. She'd be a worse president. And that's the message I'm going to take to the American people.
Awesome. Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you all. Good to meet you.
This was amazing.
We're gonna be using our platform to tell everyone to get out there and vote for sure. That's one thing, because we know there's a lot of enthusiasm, but everybody's got to go vote.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Yes,
get out there, vote by November, vote for Donald Trump. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right. And that was a Full Send podcast. It's actually a pretty good interview. What do you mean you can't see his face? Yeah, there was a video. You should have been able to see his face.
Flew on July 13th.
Yeah, maybe you're not catching the actual video. Maybe you're just getting audio from X. I don't know. But definitely should look into that. Looks like you might be having an issue on your end. I know that my StreamYard is putting everything up that I'm showing. So, all right. Sir Oliver Pollock, also known as @SirCensorLot on YouTube, says it's shitbags like this that give law enforcement a bad name. He needs to lose his badge and pay for what he did to this man and his son. His son is now traumatized and will probably grow up hating the police. Dara Bull says father body slammed and arrested for taking suspicious early morning walk with 6-year-old son. Yeah. Okay, officers arrested man while walking with his son because he did not provide ID on demand. Do you think this was excessive? Well, he shouldn't have to show ID unless, he's committing a crime, or he's being arrested for something. Then,
Hey, how you doing today? Yeah, where you heading off to? Just walking. Any specific location? Okay. Is this your son?
Yes.
All right. Hey, what's your name?
You can tell him your name.
All right. What's your name, sir?
Johnny.
Johnny. All right. All right, Johnny. Where you coming from?
Just walking around.
Just walking around.
Yeah.
All right. Enjoying this weather.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, we're checking up on you, man.
Just walk around. What the heck is this deal?
Found it a little bit suspicious, So, just walking around.
Walking around is a little bit suspicious.
I mean,
What?
technically not really, but I mean it is pretty early in the morning. Just wondering what was going
That's
on.
what we do. We get up early in the morning.
You got your ID on?
What do I need an ID for?
Because I just asked you for it.
I don't need to show my ID.
Okay, if you don't give me your ID, I'm going to take you to jail for failure to identify because I've identified that you've been walking around down here at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, we do that.
No, you're not. Give me your ID.
I don't have my ID on me because it's at the house.
Okay, what's your name and date of birth?
Huh?
What's your name and date
I don't
of birth?
know, but you can't run. I don't have. This is a state where I don't have to show my ID.
Turn around.
You're gonna do this in front of my son?
Yeah, turn around.
Are you serious?
Yeah, turn
This
around.
is my son. Let me bring my son home first.
No, turn around now.
Bro, you need here. Let me videotape this real quick. I want this on video. What are you doing to my son? Bro, this is fucked up. Son, it's okay,
It's good.
Bro, I promise you're gonna pay for this.
You think?
Yeah, I promise you that. We're walking around. There's nothing suspicious. I've done nothing criminal. I don't have my ID on me. I told you that.
And what did I tell you?
And you just slammed me on the ground because I was trying to record. What are you rolling me on the ground for?
It's gonna be okay.
Dude, this is ridiculous. Man, look what you're doing to my fucking son. There's my phone right there, too.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Hey, buddy. He's just gonna find out who he is, all right? And then hopefully we'll go from there, all right? Hey, what you got there? I'm not gonna hurt you. All right, don't worry about that.
Hey, buddy, come here.
Okay. Listen to me.
You're okay. Hey, quit crying.
It's gonna be okay.
That cop having go up there and touch that kid afterwards. No. If I was that kid, I'd have kicked him square in his nuts. That's what I'd have done. They had absolutely no reason, none whatsoever. That a second officer came up and escalated the situation immediately. And if you are not committing a crime, then, you know, there should be absolutely nobody forcing you to give ID. You're not obligated to give identification, you know, unless you're under arrest. And they had no reason to place him under arrest. Their suspicion. I'm sure that there'll be an update to this, guaranteed, and we'll follow it. All right, Kim Clement, here we go.
All over the world, crying, give us blood, give us blood, give us blood, give us blood. But the Spirit says, no, there shall be no world war yet. For I am yet to show you the manifestation of a rock in the hand of a generation that shall bring down the voice of hell. This is my will. Look for it, for it is coming, says the Spirit of God. All over the world, crying.
So, context of this, no world war yet. And he has yet to show you the manifestation of the rock in the hands of a generation. Yep. And we'll just keep going. Kamala wants your vote so she can bring change by, but why hasn't she done anything as VP? Oh, she was waiting for Joe to get out of the way so she can do things.
Am I the only one that finds it interesting that Kamala Harris is walking around and talking about all these changes that she's going to do when she becomes president of the United States? Like, she's walking around and she's asking for people's votes and talking about how she's going to change the economy, how she's going to change everything, and how she's going to bring everybody together. And it's like, did we already forget that she's the current vice president right now? Like, if she really wanted to change stuff, she could literally do it right now. Why do we have to vote for her in order for her to create the change that she wants to see in the vision, like right now? Like, she could do it today. She literally could go in there and talk to, you know, good old Biden and say, hey, look, this is what I want to do because it's going to fix it. Let's just go ahead and write it all right into legislation right now today. But she's not going to do that. You know why she's not going to do that? A lot of people don't understand. It's because she's never going to do that. And that was never the plan. And that's how Democrats lie, is they talk about a lot of stuff that they're going to do. And then once they're elected, they just never get around to doing it. And that's why she's talking about cooking greens in a bathtub. I don't think that woman's ever seen greens, except for the ganja. Anyway, have a great day.
Yeah. People are seeing more and more. Here we go.
I'm ashamed I ever supported Joe Biden. I should have never listened to the news and media about Trump. We were all lied to. I'm glad I'm finally finding out the truth now, though. Thank you for the help along the way. Love you, Uncle Ed.
My takeaway on that was that he made it a point to say, thank you, walk away. And those are the guys that are out there, guys and girls that are out there putting truth out there. And they're having an effect. And that's exactly what we need to see. We need to see them coming forward and saying, this is what affected me. This is what changed my viewpoint. And, you know, it's the idea that we are capable of reaching so many more people than what people can imagine, you know, that we can share our opinions and have proper discourse, you know, just a simple conversation can change the way a day goes for a person, a night goes for a family, a vote goes for a candidate. So many different things that we can do just by having simple conversations. And that's something that a lot of people have forgotten how to do over these last few years, is to have simple conversations. You know, I remember conversations about politics back in the 80s. And it wasn't really something that I was really interested in, but I would just sit back and I'd listen to what both sides were saying, and they were having conversations. They weren't having knockdown, drag out fights, and they weren't, I hate you because you're a Republican, I hate you because you're a Democrat, or anything like that. It was just good old fashioned conversations. And now it's turned into this thing where it's mandatory that conversation in politics has to become violent. You know, well, that kind of reminds me of the old Chinese days where they would just start duking it out right there on their Senate or congressional floors in other countries and stuff. You know, you saw it in China, you saw it in Burma, you saw it in a couple of the African nations, and of course we see it in all the communist countries. They get into a knockdown, drag out fight in indoors, and then they get the person outdoor, and they end up killing them. You know, no conversations, no common sense.
We're going to be joined now by Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. And I think a lot of people are having questions about how a gunman could get up to the roof with a clear line of sight on the president. You oversee the Secret Service. What went wrong? What's being done about it?
George, let me at the very outset echo President Biden's important words of yesterday evening. We are so very grateful that former President Trump is okay. Our hearts are with the Comprador family that lost a father and a husband.
Mr. Mayorkas, I actually really want to thank you for coming here today, for your performance. I have watched with absolute fascination as you have danced and dodged and lied. Yes, lied. We know you've lied. You know you've lied. But more importantly, the American public knows that you lied. You are the walking, talking epitome of the very tyrant that our forefathers recognized would gravitate towards government service. And it is because of people like you that they drafted the First Amendment.
We had enhanced security for the former president. We have not received any requests for additional security measures. That assertion is unequivocally false.
You and people like you would do everything in your power to control freedom, to take away our rights. And they've written a document so that we can stop you from doing what you've been doing.
My name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. I hate Republicans. I hate Trump. And guess what? You got the wrong guy.
I've sat down in a situation room downstairs with the Secret Service, the FBI, the national security agencies, the Homeland Security, all the major elements. I didn't say crosshairs, I meant bullseye, I meant focus on them.
Your accusations are false.
Yeah. Yep. Amber Rose reveals she has a lot of celebrities sliding into her DM.
You know, places like California, these people are really, you know, Aiden, my DMs are full of celebrities that are like, damn, Amber, you got fucking balls, yo. Damn. Like, I wish I can come out and say it, but I don't want to lose, you know, my show on Netflix or.
Yep. That's a lot of what it's boiling down to, right? Yeah, more Nephilim swords discovered.
Crazy. You really had giants out here. You had to be a giant to pick that sword up. Ain't no way. It'll take like thousands of people to pick that sword up. Look at how big that sword is. That's doing like a walking tunnel. Like, that's crazy. Oh my God. Look how people are looking right now. They probably gotta be shocked. Can you imagine this being right there? If you see a sword that big in the ground, That's crazy. Damn, man, that's crazy. I definitely believe it now. That sword is, damn. Sword like a bread side. Like, come on. Who can carry that? Nobody. That's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
We really had John.
Yeah. People are seeing, and it's not just the political side, they're seeing other things too. They're seeing other things too. All right. Powerful. Pastor Alton R. Williams explains why he cannot vote and support the Democrat Party. Well, let's take a listen to this, Pastor. Here we go.
You sitting up here trying to defend LGBTQ? You need to repent to JESUS. What they did, here you go. They pushed LGBTQ on black people. I can't vote for a party that is for all kind of sexual perversions. I can't do it. I can't vote for a party that's going to accept transgenders going into women's restrooms. I can't do it. I can't go with a party that wants to cut little girls' breasts off to make them boys. I can't go with a party that says you can be a boy today and a girl tomorrow. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't follow a party that wants to sexualize our children in school, put drag queens in front of them, reading them little children's stories. I can't do it. I can't support a party that wants to take the rights of parents away. Y'all got to make a decision. It's either God or the devil.
Yep. You got a choice. You got to pick side. Got to pick a side. And I hate to say that, but you got to pick a side. All right. It's wild that MSNBC thought they would get away with this. Yeah. I have a couple of different videos in regards to this, and this is one of them.
How is MSNBC allowed to call themselves a news agency after this? If you didn't get to see it, here on TikTok, MSNBC posted an edited clip of the Joe Rogan podcast where they claimed that Joe Rogan was talking about Kamala Harris, but he was actually talking about Tulsi Gabbard. Here's that clip.
Gonna win. No, she's not. She can win. She is a strong woman. She is a person who served overseas twice. She in a medical unit. So she was a congresswoman for 8 years. Yeah. She is a person of color. She's everything you want. She's going to win.
Now, he was very obviously talking about Tulsi Gabbard. I don't seem to remember Kamala Harris serving overseas in a medical unit. So they took what Joe Rogan was saying about Tulsi Gabbard and tried to claim he was talking about Kamala Harris. And after they were called out for their bullshit by Tulsi Gabbard herself, they took that video down and replaced it with this one, where they took out the comments about the medical unit. And they just left the rest of the comments that weren't about Kamala in there anyway. And here's the crazy part. This is going to end up being their most viewed video ever. MSNBC has discovered that lying to your face is better than telling the truth because they knew what they were doing. Selective editing did not happen accidentally. They did it on purpose. And weirdly enough, there will be no consequences. There will be no problem. There will be no issue. There'll be no lawsuit. No, they just get to lie to you and continue to pretend that they're actual news.
Yep. And I'm going to be showing where Tulsi Gabbard makes a reply to them and exposes this even more. Here we go. This is one of the guys who got shot, James Copenhaver, the man who was critically injured after being shot at a Trump rally.
Copenhaver himself was injured in his arm and his abdomen. He has a long road to recovery. His attorney tells Fox that he wants the world to know that he's unwilling to be silenced in his support for Trump and says that it's a tragedy that bullets flew on July 13th. Copenhaver himself was injured.
Yeah, he's I'm not doing it. You can't make me. All right, here's a little Alice Cooper for you.
Tell them who Jesus Christ is to you.
Well, I mean, everything. I mean, you know, we're not here without him. Most people I know, young people, think Jesus Christ is a swear word.
Yeah.
You know, even at Solid Rock, you know, where we have the teenagers down there,
Right.
they have no idea that who Jesus Christ is.
Yeah.
He's not preached enough.
Yeah.
You know, most written about character of all time in history.
Right.
And yet people go out of their way to not believe in it.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because they don't want to give up their godship. They believe the Hollywood version of, oh, I do more good than bad, that kind of thing. And I go, why is that? Satan's got you right where he wants you.
Yeah.
You know, to believe that.
Yeah.
I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but by me.
Right.
I said, those are the truest words ever spoken.
Yeah. Tell them who Jesus Christ is to you.
Yep. Yeah, Alice Cooper. Of all people, you'd think. Yeah. Tony says, God will not be mocked. Associated Press artist behind the Paris Olympics opening ceremony hospitalized after freak lightning strike. What do you mean freak lightning strike? God struck him, period. He showed him the light. That's what he did. Yeah. All right. Jessica Rojas, American Airlines captain, dies suddenly mid-flight. Thank goodness for the co-pilot knew what they were doing, or this could have turned into a bigger tragedy. Sad. Didn't American Airlines voice their employees to do the, you know, jabberwocky? Yep. Let's take a listen. How calm this guy was.
Tower on board 3550.
Can I help you?
When you return, Captain is incapacitated.
Right, Envoy 3556 as instructed. Go ahead and give me that right turn heading 040.
Right turn 040, Envoy 3556.
Time maintain 5,000 feet and now let us computer Chicago departure on 125.0. We're going to get your resequence right back in.
250, 356.
Envoy 3556, question.
Yep, with you, 4.5, 5,000.
Envoy 3556, you're returning, is that correct?
Affirmative as quick as possible. Captain is is out.
Envoy 3556, connect Chicago approach on 133.62.
3362, Envoy 3556. Okay, and did you have any information I need to pass along to the tower in terms of paramedics gate number yet? No gate number, and he's knocked out. We're going to need paramedics working on everything right now. Okay, thank you. Port side, runway 3556. Runway 3556, roger. Clear middle approach, runway 28 center, speed to your discretion.
3556, so here tower, runway 28 center, clear to land, and just advise if you need any assistance.
Clear land, 28 center, and we'll exit. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to have to move the captain from the seat and get to the gate.
Roger. Runway 3556, if able, advise if you think you'll be able to clear the runway or not.
I'll be able to clear the runway from runway 3556.
Roger, thank you.
Yeah. Real shame. Forcing them to go through this, you know, and to have this type of situations happening. Yeah.
Kamala, I just got another email to donate to Kamala HQ. Listen, I've got one word for you, Kamala. Bidenomics. I can't afford to. Okay. Do not come, Kamala. Do not come. Okay.
It seems that everybody's going at Kamala, and it seems to be the center focus of news. I know that there's stuff going on overseas. I have not been able to get any updates at all out of the UK, other than something out of Ireland. I haven't been able to get anything else. Normally, I'm getting in my feed 6 to 7 people who are from over in that area that are constantly that normally would be constantly posting stuff. But yeah, it's there's been no reports whatsoever on current activities or live streams of the protests or anything like that. So we're not getting it here in the States. So I think somebody on the UK side might be stopping stuff from getting released. But we'll check the feed a little bit later and see if anything gets inserted in there. I know that they do everything that they can to stop the news from going worldwide, especially the BBC. You guys know that, but we'll check it out. All right. Outrageous. Secret Service does not have recordings of the radio traffic from the Butler, Pennsylvania attempted assassination. And the thing is they had recordings of communications back from JFK's day. So how can they say that they have no current communications? That just doesn't seem right.
Does the Secret Service use encrypted communications at events?
On our radio nets, we do, sir.
Are those memorialized? Are those saved?
The radio traffic from Butler, we did not have recordings.
Do you normally?
Not on the road outside of DC or outside of a presidential or vice presidential stop.
So communications between Secret Service agents will not be available like we've gotten the communications from local law enforcement.
I'm sorry, Senator.
So we're not going to be able to get those communications. You didn't save them.
No, sir.
Which is very unfortunate.
It is, sir. And moving forward, I've directed that we will now start recording those so that we will have them moving forward.
Does the Secret Service use encrypted communications at events?
On our radio nets, we do, sir.
Are those memorialized? Are those saved?
So basically, but now they're going to implement it. Yeah. I have a feeling that that there's a lot more to this than what they say. This woman here saying a prayer this morning. Come on now. You can play now. Telling you, the devil don't want me playing this stuff. Does not want me playing this stuff. Give me a second, guys. I got to refresh this page because obviously they're trying to stop the progression of our wonderful podcast here. We may not have as many people watching as these other guys, but come on. It doesn't have to be like this. You ain't got to be hating on us because we see things differently than you see them. Get real. All right, here we go.
Of something, you could have let that bullet just zip by, but Lord, you were sending a message, a very clear message. So I pray that Donald Trump will come to know you. Lord, I pray that Kamala Harris will not set one foot in that White House in November, that she will not win the election, whether she said what she said just now or she didn't. Father God, she does not deserve to become the president of the United States. So Lord, I pray that Christians will turn out by the thousands, by the millions, and vote for Donald Trump. Lord, we don't put our trust in Donald Trump. Our trust is in you. But as we read scripture, we see how you use kings to deliver your people. So Lord, we just thank you, God, of something.
Yeah. Rebuking Kamala Harris and don't let her in there, God. We know she's crooked. Yep. All right. Jesse Waters, here we go.
Kamala hasn't officially named her pick for VP just yet. It could happen as soon as this weekend. But the cat might be out of the bag, courtesy of the mayor of Philadelphia, who may or may not have accidentally posted this video on her Instagram.
I can't think of a better partner than our Governor Josh Shapiro.
We're getting behind Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris?
Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris for president. And Josh Shapiro.
Josh Shapiro?
Josh Shapiro for vice president. Now we need you.
What does the mayor know that we don't? Well, the Harris campaign gave us a no comment, and the Philly mayor is trying to play it off like they meant to post the video. It's not an announcement, it's an endorsement, they said. But according to a Philly journalist, Ernest Owens, somebody is in big trouble. He says that a staffer on the Philly mayor's campaign was supposed to upload the video on Monday, but he pushed the wrong button. Oops. Makes sense. Shapiro was the front runner anyway. Kamala needs Pennsylvania if she wants to win. But Shapiro's got skeletons in his closet. He's accused of paying $300,000 to a former staffer to make a sexual harassment situation with his advisor go away. Did he just pay hush money to win an election? And now the National Women's Defense League is urging Harris not to pick him. Is that going to stop Kamala from picking him? Who knows? But there's an old saying in the TV business, you can't kill a story if you've teased it. And Shapiro's officially been teased. National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign, Carolyn Levitt, joins me now. Carolyn, congratulations. First of all, I heard you had a baby.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you very much. I sure did. I'm just hoping he doesn't cry upstairs while I'm on your show right now.
We've heard that in the background just from guests, sometimes on primetime. So Shapiro, that not kind of a, they can't even do a VP rollout? What happened here?
Yikes. Well, this video was certainly a mistake, but since they teased Shapiro, I think it's very important that voters at home understand who Josh Shapiro is. Just like Kamala Harris, he is a far-left Democrat. There is not much daylight between these two records. When Josh Shapiro was Attorney General and as governor of Pennsylvania, he's been incredibly soft on crime. We know Kamala Harris wants to defund the police. Josh Shapiro has repeatedly voted to raise property taxes in the Commonwealth. We know Kamala Harris wants to continue to increase our taxes, even on top of her record high inflation crisis. And Josh Shapiro is anti-American energy. In fact, he said he wants to criminalize the oil and gas companies in this country. Imagine what that will do to good paying jobs in Pennsylvania. If you want to know what a Shapiro-Harris America would look like, just look at the streets of San Fran, where Kamala comes from. Look at the streets of Philly. And Jesse, I will never forget the conversation that I had with a young woman named Tatiana. She's from Kensington, a neighborhood that has been devastated by the opioid crisis in the city of Philadelphia. She actually volunteered to be a motorcade driver for one of President Trump's rallies. And she told me living in Kensington is like living in a war zone. She showed me videos of her fellow citizens drugged out on the streets like lifeless zombies. Josh Shapiro owns that. He is responsible for that mess in Philadelphia, just like Kamala Harris is responsible for the mess she has created at the southern border, the increased crime and the increased inflation, thanks to she and Biden's disastrous agenda.
All right. It sounds like you've already got your Josh Shapiro notes down. He seems just to be as radical as she is. Not sure that's the greatest pick, but we're going to find out. And maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's Michelle Obama. We have no idea. Say hi to the baby for me.
Jesse, the baby's not going to know who you are for at least another 5 or 6 years. Yeah. Lots of things about Shapiro that are going to be talked about today. Yep. All right. I mean, therefore I am. Chicago Democrats are making sure that they have enough taxpayer-funded housing for illegal aliens during the DNC.
This hotel has turned into a state-run migrant shelter. No one is allowed in or out unless they're escorted by security, and the city says they're prepping for a possible sudden increase in new arrivals. This hotel turned shelter can fit 950 people. Security cameras, personnel guard the area. It's not clear how many people are living there right now. We do know there were only 5,876 people living at one of the city and state's 17 shelter locations. On January 12th, at peak capacity with 28 shelters, the city and state were housing 14,824 people. Just about a month ago, the city was operating at half capacity at its remaining shelter locations, we're told, leaving space for new arrivals that might be bussed here during the Democratic National Convention.
There is a small drop in the numbers of people coming to Chicago but definitely we want to make sure that we have bed available in case of a surge ahead of the DNC.
Johannes Favi is the deputy director of the Illinois Community for Displaced Immigrants. He also serves as a member on the city's new arrivals cabinet.
Helping the administration see things from an immigrant perspective. It's important to bring immigrant at the center of the table.
He explained how Chicago plans to repurpose at least some of the infrastructure they've created to respond to the migrant crisis. We've mapped out the shelters currently in operation to help support an overall anti-homelessness mission.
We really want to ensure that homeless people in general, not only the new arrival, get access to mental health, get access to the support that they deserve.
In the short term, the state is making more space, nearly delivering on the promise they made in November to provide 2,000 additional beds to the city, opening this hotel location as well as another in Hyde Park that can house up to 750 people.
You don't want people to live in the shelter. You want people to have access to housing, stable housing. And the shelter should not be a place for people to live indefinitely.
At last check, the city told us they hadn't heard any specific details on how many people to possibly expect during the DNC. They've told us they haven't heard anything from Texas.
Yeah, they haven't heard anything from Texas. Well, Texas probably going to send you another plane load. Yep. All right. Carly Bonet says, ready to sue the Kamala Harris campaign.
This video goes out to Kamala Harris. What's up, Prez? Apparently, I don't know if you really understand the logistics of what you're doing, but you are spreading hate. You're spreading hate, and it's not fair. We have the right to vote for whoever the fuck we want to vote for, Prez. That is our God-given right. People have fought and died for us to be able to vote for who we want to vote for. And for you to sit there and hire people, give them $150 knowing that America is hard up right now, and then for them to promote so much hate, I'm really ready to sue your campaign because I can't believe the hate mail and the things that I have received on social media. I mean, the emails, the threats, people knowing my address. This is unacceptable. Kamala Harris, if anything happens to me, my blood is on your hands, ma'am. And my people ain't gonna rest easy. You will be persecuted.
I think she might be a little bit mad at her. Just a little bit. Yep. Barack Obama started the division and complete destruction of America by repealing the Smith-Mundt Act. We've talked about this many times. Wall Street Papes put this out. Here we go.
And in 2012, the Obama administration and the freaking Congress that sat then repealed it. It is legal for the agency, the sister agency, the FBI, and the rest of them to put out intentionally misinformation, propaganda to American citizens now, and has been for 10 years. When was the last time you heard any congressperson? They didn't fuss about it back then. They're not fussing about it now. Just like the Patriot Act. Yeah. Patriot Act, greatest pull of our freedoms in history. Signed by Bush II. A lot of other people don't know this. There's only 2 presidents in U.S. histories to suspend the writ of habeas corpus. And in 2012, the Obama.
Yeah, it doesn't have the whole interview there. That's with Sean. I believe it's with Sean Ryan. I'll have to see if I can find the full interview on that. I'd be interested to see what else he's got to say. But that's just a reminder. I'm not the only one saying that the Smith-Mundt Act was installed in Obama's NDAA after being turned down by the Senate because it got brought to the congressional floor and it passed. Senate turned it down, and then Obama slipped it in the 2012 National Defense Authorization Act. That's how that all worked out. And so they have the right to lie to you now, and you can't do nothing about it. Yep.
As it turns out, there are allegations that the fiance, who had come home and had left the apartment for about 45 minutes to go work out downstairs, then comes back upstairs and, whoa, Ellen's dead. Turns out his family, according to allegations, are donors to the then Attorney General, Josh Shapiro. That's a conflict of interest, a huge conflict of interest. And in the last days, the Attorney General's office has agreed that there is the appearance of a conflict. And now there are demands that the Philadelphia mayor reopen the.
Yep. Shapiro covered it up. Covered up a murder. Yep. All right. Just in, Louisiana Mayor Misty Roberts Clayton, who suddenly announced her resignation last week, has been charged with child rape. Oh. They're not saying anything, so I'm going to turn off the sound. The 42-year-old was mayor of DeRidder before suddenly resigning. This week, Clayton was arrested for allegedly having sexual intercourse with one juvenile victim while employed as mayor. As the investigation progressed, LSP's SVU conducted interviews with two juveniles, one of which was the victim. Both juveniles confirmed Roberts had sexual intercourse with one juvenile victim while employed as mayor. A statement read, the former mayor was charged with third-degree rape. She was arrested and released on a $75,000 bond. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Here we go.
They're telling us that the counter sniper team didn't know there was a man on the roof with a gun until shots rang out. That's what they're telling us. Even as we watch videos of Trump supporters screaming, there's a man with a gun on the roof. The director was caught in another lie. He claimed the Secret Service briefed the locals the morning of the rally.
In the morning of July 13th, a site briefing was conducted with Secret Service personnel and law enforcement partners supporting the event.
But that's not what the locals told us.
We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened.
Secret Service has never talked to any of our people, either before the rally that day or to this moment, has ever talked to us in regards to what our actions were that day.
Never briefed them that day, never talked to them that day, and haven't talked to them at all since the shooting. What a convenient way not to leave a trail.
They are definitely down right now.
No, they're down right now. Trump almost took a bullet to the brain. And the only reason he's still alive isn't because of the Secret Service and the poor little Pittsburgh field office. It's because he got lucky and turned his head to the right. The entire Pittsburgh field office should be placed on administrative leave, have all their electronics seized, and be put under formal investigation. And the people in charge of the Butler rally security are still doing security at rallies. If you needed another reason to vote in this election, it's this. Donald Trump told me that if he's elected, he'll declassify everything about the attempt on his life. So if you want to know what happened this July, you know what to do in November.
Yep. And I think that will be interesting. Yep. Chicago 9th Ward Alderman Anthony Beal says illegals are getting $9,000 housing vouchers, food, child care, etc. Meanwhile, working class Americans can't afford groceries, gas, or housing. Here we go.
Now, I've said this before. If you give me 3 meals, housing, child care, education, a voucher for $9,000, you know what? I come to Chicago too. And that's what they're doing. They're telling people, and they're sending money back to Chicago, back to Venezuela, to come to Chicago because they're saying, hey, the good times are rolling there. They're taking care of everybody. Now, when we have Venezuelans that are driving cars, where did they get a driver's license? Where did they get insurance from? And then you have Venezuelans being caught with drugs and guns. Where are they getting them from?
Yep. Where are they getting them from?
Now, I've said this.
Yep. Laura Loomer says, I have obtained another photo of Kamala Harris at 29 kissing then married Willie Brown at one of Brown's political functions. This is from the November 8th, 1995 edition of the San Luis Obispo County Telegram Tribune. Look at her kissing a married man. Yep. It says here, mayoral candidate Willie Brown gets kissed from a friend, Kamala Harris, on Tuesday. Yeah. 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 All right. Here's that Tulsi Gabbard I was talking about before.
MSNBC, not sure if you guys caught this, but MSNBC was exposed today for yet another set of lies. They deceptively edited together this video of different Joe Rogan comments to make it appear that he was singing the praises of Kamala Harris.
She's going to win. No, she's not. She can win. She is a strong woman. She is a person who served overseas twice. She in a medical unit. So she was a congresswoman for 8 years. Yeah. She is a person of color. She's everything you want. She's going to win. No, she's not. She can win. They just want no Trump. No matter what.
This is not reflective at all of the truth of what Joe Rogan said. And I think MSNBC has since taken this post down. But what's really serious here is that not only does Joe Rogan deserve an apology, there's actually something far bigger at stake here. This is yet another example of how MSNBC is working hand in glove with the Democrat elite and the Kamala Harris campaign to try to spread lies, simply things that are not true. So what this means is MSNBC is a for-profit corporation. They are helping Kamala Harris's election campaign. And what they are doing through their platform would qualify as an in-kind contribution to her campaign. It's worth a lot of money. The fact that they are doing this should require the Federal Elections Commission that manages campaign spending and campaign finance to require them to report this as an in-kind campaign contribution or to be punished for abusing their position in trying to use their platform that has nothing to do with journalism. It is purely a propaganda platform, and that they are using this in order to try to help Kamala Harris get elected. These people need to be held accountable for what they're doing, because otherwise they will continue to do this, continue to abuse their platform and their power to try to deceive the American people and help her get elected.
Yep. Deception. That's what they do. Yep.
Do not let that rally looking fool you, because Fulton County has been doing this for years. Before the rallies, they get busloads and they go pick up the homeless people. They offer them food, drink, and a little change to come to the rally, so the rallies will look full. Now, you got to realize she just dealt with the rally, and I want to say it was Pennsylvania, where it was less than 60 people. It was quite embarrassing for her. And so that's not going to go down in this blackity black city. Okay. I want you to know people aren't for her like that. That's why they're having to pick up homeless people. That being said, I'm going to give her this. She's not the only one. It is a very Fulton County, Atlanta thing. You can see it before all of the Democratic rallies. It's been said for years that they literally will go pick up homeless people on the days of the election and pay them to vote. They need the money, so they do it, because what poor and desperate is what they're banking on. I saw yesterday them picking up the homeless people to come to the rally. So do not be fooled.
Yep. Yeah. Just people just telling them. So if you got a backyard, it's just an idea of something you could do with it.
So this is 78 feet long on this side and 26 feet wide on this side. That gives us 2,028 square feet in the fenced area. The posts are made out of 6x6s, and they are 8 feet tall. And the top section is made out of cattle panel, and then the bottom is a finer mesh to keep out smaller critters.
Yep, just something you could do at home in order to grow your own stuff. Yep. All right. I played this once before. This is an older video, and I'm going to play it just because I want people to understand, the extent the Freemasons go, and their involvement in a lot of the things that are happening in our world every day. Here we go.
All right, brother. You said that you had also Masonic, right? Masonic,
well, my career in law enforcement, I actually joined the Brotherhood of Freemasons.
Okay. Yeah, how'd you get into that?
Man, a lot of cops are involved with that.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's a thing that I'm not saying you must do, but 95% of them do. You know what I mean?
Now, what's the benefit out of it? Like, what's the main purpose?
Actually, for me, if you're going to ask me the question, I think it was more like biblical history.
Oh, okay.
What intrigued me the most was they talked about King Solomon's temple and the Holy of Holies, and I've always been intrigued by it.
So this actually exists?
Yes, it does. It's the occult. It's nothing to be messing with.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you straight up.
All right.
And there's 3 phases. The first phase is enter apprentice.
Okay.
Even before you get to that phase, you got to be pretty much spoke about.
Okay.
To be one, you have to ask one. So one of my supervisors, he was a lieutenant, pretty much came up to me and asked me, "Hey, you want to join a club?" And I'm like, "What kind of club is it?" You know what I mean? Right. Well, it's the Freemasons. I did my background, on them and did my research, and I've seen a lot of positive things that that came out of doing the research. A lot of them donate money to cancer victims and children with cancer, and the Shriners, they have their own hospital and so forth. I was in a position where I'm working with juvenile offenders. Well, why not? Why not do something in the outside? You know what I mean? So my lieutenant spoke for me and 2 other of my fellow brothers in blue, and we petitioned for a spot in the Brotherhood, and filled out applications, and they did a background. They do a background on you, see if you're good standing, or else they won't take you.
Wow.
What they do is they take men to make them better. That's what they say. But only God could do that.
Right.
No club could do that for you.
That's right.
So right around 2006, I'm on my 4th year. I'm a 4th or 5th year on the job. I petitioned. It all went pretty good, and they do a house interview.
Okay.
So I had, like 20, 30 people come to my house, and they spoke to my wife because they speak to the females first.
Wow.
I don't know why, but they usually do that because you're not going to be around as much when you go into meetings, or you got to do take time off to do work as far as donating, getting money for donations and and so forth. So I didn't see that quite a bit, as far as going out there, doing that type of work first, because you have to go through rituals first. The first phase is the enter apprentice phase. That's phase 1, and you do your rituals. They take you in and they tie a toe to your ankle, made of
tie a toe?
A toe, yeah, ankle toe. They call it the ankle toe, and it's made out of what do you call it? It's like a harness. It's like a tie. They tie it around your leg, and they raise your pants leg up, and you're there in a suit, and then you go around. You're blindfolded, so you can't really see the actual temple. It's a temple. You got Joaquin and Boaz on one side. The 2 towers, which is the 2 pillars.
So
the Freemasons.
This is like big time.
Oh, it's a ritual.
This is like sacred stuff, right?
Yeah. But see, the way they cookie cut it is that they only get the ones that are like I would say the ones that are really interested and the ones that are clean cut.
Right.
All right. And I'm going to add the devil to this too.
Okay.
Because when you're in the world, you're of the devil. Your father, the devil, right?
Right, right.
When you don't have God on your mind at all times, from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep at night, you're of your father, the devil. And I'm just going to say it like that, but I'm going to be bold and honest, you know. I was in the right state of mind then, you know. I had some marital problems, so I felt like this was an outlet for me to get out and have fellowship with other brothers.
Yeah, right, because you wasn't getting that with the churches.
I wasn't getting that with the churches back home because, I mean, they were preaching prosperity.
Right. Okay.
You know, give me $1, God gives you 1,000. And God doesn't work that way, man. You got to work for, you know, you got to work to eat. So, nah, don't wait for a handout.
So how long did the first phase last?
See, what they do is they bring you into the temple and they have the secretary, which is a male. We're all males. There's no female masons here. I know in Europe, I think they do, not here. Unless you're an Eastern Star, that's different.
Okay.
But the Freemasons, you got the Blue Lodge, which is composed of all different nationalities and backgrounds of Masons,
right,
to include different religious sets. Hindu, Muslim, whatever. You could be atheist, they don't care. You could be Satan. You could be a devil worshiper. And they'll bring a devil worshiping Bible, right there, satanic Bible, so you could you take the oath. Yeah, they don't care. See, I didn't know that. Until I started doing more homework on it. What did I get myself into? But
did you ever get that far?
Oh yeah, I became a master mason. Okay. I mean, the highest you go is 33rd, but even at 32nd, see, from the ranks of 30th to 33, which is 3. That's when they divulge the actual truth to you.
I got you.
You know, which they have you in darkness all those years, and then once you start climbing up the rituals and the phases, and you go up the ranks or degrees,
right,
we call it. You could go from the 3rd degree to the 32nd degree in a weekend.
Wow.
Oh yeah, you could do it in 2 days. They call that the fast track. But usually to get that high, it takes years. Wow. It takes years, but you could do it the other way. You got to pay some money or talk to whoever.
I heard that some people, if I might be mistaken, but I know some of these rich people, these Hollywood people, they give land, millions of dollars.
Oh yeah. It all depends because those are called dues, right?
Okay.
And you talking about occultic, satanic individuals that work in Hollywood. Reverence, of money, of people of power. I didn't know all that because when you got scales in your eyes, you can only see so much.
Right.
But when God removes those blinds off your eyes, you start seeing who's who for what they are.
Wow.
And not every Masonic lodge. I mean, they all talk about the same, but everybody's different. Because in order for you to be a Shriner, you got to be a Mason. For you to be a Knights Templar, you got to be a Mason. And the more you go up in that pyramid, and the highest you could go is a Rothschild.
Right.
They're the highest of the highest.
Really?
Yeah, they're the satanic children of Satan.
Wow.
They actually sit on the table and they have a special chair for Satan right there. And he comes and talks to these family members, and they're the ones that the shaken and bakers, I call it.
Now, this all has to do also with the those people who go out into the wood and they burn that wooden owl and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you talking about the Illuminati?
Illuminati, okay. So
right.
This has to do with.
Oh yeah, you have to be a Freemason to be that. All the presidents were Freemasons.
Okay.
A small portion weren't, but they were Jesuits. This is the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, even the Pope. They don't. And I'm going to be honest. They don't actually have to do the whole ritual. They have to watch.
Right.
And because of their power and rank within the church,
but it's still controlled by.
Everything is controlled by the white and black Pope. Yeah. So black and white, which is white and black tiles, is where we have our temple.
That's where you get that.
Yeah, the yin yang. The good versus evil. You got to have one of the balance, and that's the work of the devil. God doesn't work that way. He doesn't manifest that way. That's all the trick of the devil. The devil knows the Bible better than me and you put together because he was there when God was putting it together. And of course he fell, but he knows. Yeah. He could twist the word of God and make it so clean like honey in your mouth and say, well, this guy is a man of God. But no, you got to go beyond that, honey. Right. You got to go around it and do your research because they're going to give themselves up. You know what I mean? A lot of these guys and women, men and women that work in Hollywood, they're all Satanists.
I bet.
all of them are Satanists. And you know what? Anybody could tell me different. I really don't care because I know certain hand signs that you do. You know, the pyramid, the rock. You know, Jay-Z calls this the rock. It's a pyramid.
Right.
All right. But in that pyramid, there's 13.
Right. You also got the what was this?
Well, that's the horns of the devil.
Right.
The devil's horns. Yeah. And, you know, that's Illuminati. You could use it for the Shriners use it too.
Right.
That's the Moloch.
Okay.
Moloch is the actual owl that they worship out in California. All these big shots, big corporations, they go there, and that's where they make the presidents too.
Really?
They make presidents there. They know which president they're going to make. They make them. All this political stuff, that's just BS. That's bullshit.
Why?
That is bullshit. That is the most deceiving thing in America. They know which the Rothschilds makes the presidents. They're trillionaires. They own the world. They own like 90% of the world.
Yeah, and plus, if you have all these superstars and all these,
You control their puppets.
Well, and not only that, they got the money to buy land.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually, it's going to be one government.
Yes.
Or one secret government, should I say, be like the Illuminati or the Masons.
Right.
Who will control all this land.
But see, the Masons are the foot soldiers of the Illuminati. You understand the pyramid, right?
Yes, yes.
It's shaped like a triangle, right? So we're at the very bottom.
At the very bottom.
And then above that, you got different families, you know, different. Above that, you got York Rite, Scottish Rites, which are also sets of different branches of Freemasons. And then you go into Knights Templar, and you got, you know,
So
Shriners.
I guess that's where you get the all-seeing eye from.
The all-seeing eye is Lucifer.
Right.
Underneath them is the Rothschilds. Underneath them is the Council of 13, or the Council of 33, or 13. No, 13. Underneath them, you got the Council of 33. Underneath them, you got big, you know, different corporations like the CFR.
Wow.
The Council of Foreign Relations. And underneath them, you got, you know, like 6 big companies that own all the, they own all the real estate, and they own all like media outfits, you know, like, I said media. They own all different types of.
Yeah, like those people who are like Warren Buffett. Who owns
well, yeah, he's a 33rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they own, you know, property, they own land, they own
everything. Yeah.
Everything. So you got 6 corporations in the world that owns 90% of the assets and the money of the world, right? So even the Federal Reserve is not of the United States. It's a separate entity that's ran by the Rothschilds. See, the Rothschilds, they run all that from their house.
Wow.
And they live out in England. They don't leave that house.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
They don't leave the house.
Why is that? I mean, is there
because that's where the devil dwells. The devil could only be in one place. God is everywhere.
Yeah.
You understand?
True. Yeah, because God is he's
everlasting.
He's omnipresent.
Yeah, he's everywhere. You can't put God in there, sir.
Yeah,
He's too big.
And you can't have the devil
No.
everywhere. You know,
No.
he's limited to his power.
One spot.
Amen.
Well, he'll use his foot soldiers to do other things.
Exactly.
They're all demons. They're all demon possessed. They're vessels. They're fleshly vessels that are compartmentalized. They're like shattered. They shatter their brains, and it's just like MK Ultra, right? They use MK Ultra to break the minds of people, and then they mold them the way that they want them to go.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Or satanic ritual abuse. That all comes together with the Freemasons.
So their ultimate goal is pretty much to have one world order,
one world religion,
and one world
currency. Yep.
To eventually rule the world.
Rule the world, right?
Which is to usher in also the
Antichrist.
The Antichrist, mark of the beast, and so
Mark
on.
of the beast, right?
So you've seen all this firsthand.
Yeah. Oh yeah, firsthand. I mean, I've seen the rituals. I see where they imitate them trying to kill you.
Wow.
You know, when you get in your masters, they put you like they simulate that they're stabbing you, and they killing you like Tubal Cain. You know.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, like you almost have to. Kind of like the way we have to be reborn.
Yes, they're making a mockery out of baptism.
Right, and it's actually reversed. And you know what? The devil works like that because. So if we have to be reborn, they pretty much say you have to
die first.
You have to
die
kill yourself for the devil.
Yeah.
Wow.
So just like like the satanic baptism, they baptize them in blood in like a cast iron bathtub.
Right.
If you see the videos that you see, like this girl named Rihanna is one of them that she's done blood sacrifices and she's done a blood baptism, but they won't show blood in the bathtub. They show water, but it's symbolic. The water, their water is symbolic to blood.
Right.
And they have to get in that bathtub. Even Eminem, you see him on one of those magazines. He's just leaning back, bare chested, with blood up to his stomach.
Wow.
In a cast iron, bathtub, and that's how they do their rituals. Everything is backwards.
Who's the other guy? I know there's a lot of them.
A lot of them. Yeah.
Was it Lil Wayne?
Lil Wayne is another. That's the most satanic one around.
Right,
him,
yeah.
Little Baby, the one that promotes him. He's a pedophile. He's a fag.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they're all homosexuals. They have to be like the Baphomet. Like is it above? Like is it below? You see the Baphomet?
Yes. He has 4 arms. Something like that.
No. That's Hindu. I'm talking about the Baphomet is the god of the Knights Templar.
Okay, I'll post a picture as you're saying this.
Yeah.
I'll post a picture.
It's a goat's face with horns.
Right.
Has breast of a woman and the remaining lower half of man, and then the feet of a goat.
Wow.
So they worship that. That's Lucifer. All right. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
They eat fecal matter. They drink urine. I mean, it's disgusting. And I never did that. I never got that high up to do nothing like. But when you're up there and they expose everything to you at the 30th to the 33, it's you're done. You're selling yourself to the devil at that point.
And then not only that, you're sworn to secrecy.
Yeah, you sworn never to divulge any information, but to always protect and help your fellow brother. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was the first step. And then what was the second?
The second is fellowcraft. That's
Fellowcraft.
that's the second degree, fellowcraft. Same kind of rituals, but it's now you go from raising your pants, like trousers on the right. Now you're gonna do it on the left, and now you got a different ankle toe with a ball.
Man, that's crazy.
And then you're blindfolded. They take you, the actual officer. They call them officers, the ushers. I call them ushers. They usher you around, and you got to bow where you have to bow, and you got to, do what you got to do, and they make you face the worshipful master of the east, the worshipful master of the west. This is a specific part in the lodge. It's empty, and that's the north. You never face the north, which it resembles where the Lord is at.
Right.
They say that God is, straight up north, but they don't make you do nothing with that. It's just like senseless rituals, and you want your ego to get through. You're eager to get your ring, your token, or any other, Masonic memorabilia that you could wear. You put it on.
I've met somebody when I was working at the shipyard, someone who did have a ring.
Yeah, I used to wear a ring all the time.
Okay, so they give you rings.
No, you have to buy it. You have to purchase it yourself. Or if you're my brother and I'm giving you a token of my appreciation to you because you already became a master, well, here's sometimes they'll give you a dime with a compass and square on it.
Wow, okay.
You know what I mean? Unless you really put it up close to see it, that's a token of appreciation and love from your brother.
Gotcha.
Or they'll probably, well, you know what? We want to buy you your first ring.
Mm.
Or they'll give you a shield to put in your car. You know what I mean? So everybody sees that you're brother, leave you alone. You get special privileges. You get pulled over, cop, have a nice day. Because they're all,
So the ultimate goal here is that if anybody ever, approaches somebody, stay far away from this.
Oh, you're going to have to stay far away from and run. Don't stay close because, see, the problem with that is they use the actual word brotherhood as an advantage to them.
It's sad.
It's catchy. It's a honey.
Say brotherhood also.
Yeah.
Like this is going around a lot in the colleges.
Oh yeah, the Alpha Catas and all them. That's all Greek.
Yes.
And a lot of them becomes after a while, they'll become bones and skulls.
Wow.
Oh yeah, especially if you're in a Yale. That's where they come from, But they do have. You have to be a master mason before you become anything else. Depending on your upward mobility, it's and rituals, the quicker you get them done, the quicker things are revealed to you. But like I said, you could go as high as you want. If you got money, you could buy your way up. You know, honorary. You know how many times they give honorary doctorates that people never ever been in college?
Yeah.
You know, like, for example, Bill Cosby got an honorary doctorates, right? So they jacked them up with some of these women and stuff. They took it away. But he's a Freemason. But see, if you start exposing them, they'll go after you. They'll go after your family. They'll try to kill you because the government's part of it. It's not only civilians. The government is in cahoots with these people.
Right, right.
And in there's sectors throughout the whole country that's split apart. I don't know if it's northeast, south, and west, but they have witches that are in charge of these sectors and warlocks that are in charge of these sectors, and they pretty much monitor the satanic. You know, I'm going to use the satanic. Members. You know, like they call congregation too, just the opposite of being a Jesus believer. You know, I don't want to use the word Christianity.
Yeah.
But I want to, believers, right? So they have a specific warlocks and, Council of 13 witches, which are either male, female, and pretty much they're in charge of thousands of members of the congregations and the local witches and warlocks that are in charge of that congregation.
Wow.
And a lot of them are politicians heavily involved in witchcraft. And they have to do certain rituals and certain things in order for them to gain favor with the Rothschilds. And then they send orders of doing things for that family.
Wow.
They give them orders, and with those orders money comes with it.
And so like the exact same way we try to expand the kingdom of God.
They're doing it the other way.
They're doing it the other way.
Oh, yeah, it's satanic at the core. This whole country is not based upon Christianity. It's satanic from head to toe. Don't ever think that the president is not a satanic worshiper either. Don't ever think. And I'm going to put it out there, too. I'm going to put it out there.
Nice.
I'm going to put it out there. Because, come on. Their God is money, Lucifer.
Right.
They don't have none of want or need. Doesn't the Lord says it in the Holy Scriptures, you that are poor, you're rich. Right? We're rich in favor to the Most High.
That's right.
All you got to do is ask, and God provides. If He provides for the little critters and the birds of the air and the fowls of the air, how much more us that He loves us even more? We're made in His creation. But these people are satanic at the core. They don't believe in God. They hate God because their God is Lucifer. And I was involved in that. I met witches before. They've revealed themselves because when you're in and you get yourself out, see, what got me out was God's love and grace and mercy.
So looking back, you wouldn't trade nothing in the world for
never. I'm humbled.
Amen.
To the 20th power.
Amen.
I would never change anything because the Most High had something to do with it.
Amen.
See, and I didn't know. I thought it was just things that, at times, you do something that you ain't supposed to do. You reap what you sow.
Yeah.
A lot of it was reaping and sowing. Don't get me wrong. But the bulk of it was God breaking me down from being a juvenile all the way up to I'm in my 40s now, so I'm a different type of person now.
Amen.
Everything that was taken from me, that I thought it was taken away from me, God gave it back with interest. So, at times when I fellowship with other brothers and sisters, I share with them portions of my testimony or whatever benefits them, in the walk. And it was like, how did you do it?
Someone once told me, he said, the devil likes to subtract and divide.
Yeah.
And the Lord likes to add and multiply.
Just like Abraham.
Amen, brother.
Just like Abraham.
That's right.
But people like yourself, through you, I got to see the apostle.
All right. Yeah.
I would have never got to see Pastor Jennings if it would have been because of the word made simple. On YouTube. And then from there we started fellowshipping, and I started watching all his, YouTube channels through you, Tony Harving, and everybody else. And, you know, just before I came here, the Lord spoke to me. He goes, well, you need to be baptized. You need to be holy, brother. You got the Holy Spirit in you. You speak in tongues. Now it's time for you to be baptized.
Amen. That's right.
So from here, I'm going to go to the Holy Convocation, hopefully in July.
That's right.
And I'm going to be baptized there. I got to go see Pastor Gino Jennings to see if he knows what to do with me.
Well, you see, there you go, guys. You have it. Here's brother Vic. And hopefully he'll be there, God willing. Hopefully I'll be there, God willing. Hopefully Tony
First
Collins.
church.
Yes,
Rocks.
amen. And last week of July.
Last week of July. Also, if there's anybody out there considering to becoming a Freemason, don't do it.
That's right.
Don't do it. If you need to talk to somebody that's been there, you could contact me at 330-707-5159, or you can shoot me an email, which is lowercase vr13377@gmail.com. At any time, I'm available all day long. So just wanted to say God bless you. Be safe. Do the right thing.
Interesting, huh? Yeah, what I had before was just a shorter clip of that. So it was nice to actually see the whole thing and hear the outcome and all that. But we need to know about these kind of things, right? Yeah. All right. Jack Pasolvi says, share this information about Josh Shapiro and the Ellen Greensburg case. Far and wide.
Berg will now go to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. The 28-year-old teacher was found dead inside her Manayunk apartment with 20 stab wounds in 2011. Her death was ruled a suicide, but her parents believe she was murdered.
The AG's office, led by Josh Shapiro, has long insisted evidence proves the 27-year-old died by suicide, but the Greenbergs are convinced she was murdered, and they're currently suing the city's medical examiner with the hope of reopening the case.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition, Human Events Daily, here live, Butler, Pennsylvania. Today is August 2nd, 2024, Anno Domini. Folks, the receipts hole on Josh Shapiro keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. Yesterday, we covered a little bit, we'll get into more of it today, the case of Ellen Greenberg, the horrific stabbing death that she received in 2011. Just outside Manayunk, Pennsylvania, which is in the Philadelphia area, East Falls, where she was found stabbed 10 times in the front, 10 times in the back, including the back of her head, including her spinal column, twice, according to testimony from medical examiners, post-mortem. And yet Josh Shapiro signed off on this being a suicide. And why would he do that? Does it have to do with potential connections that her fiance had to powerful members of the Pennsylvania legal community? Just some basic questions that we don't seem to have gotten answers to, and that Josh Shapiro doesn't seem to want to give us answers to. Why is it then that the family of Ellen Greenberg has tried for 13 years to just get some semblance of an investigation going? And yet when you go to Josh Shapiro's office, when he was the attorney general, Josh Shapiro would just tell you, oh, no, just a suicide. There's nothing to see here. It seems like there's a lot to see here, but Josh Shapiro doesn't want you to see that. The same way that he doesn't want you to know about the sexual harassment going on in his own office that was perpetuated by one of his cabinet members, a guy by the name of Mike Vera. Mike Vera, a former Republican who decided to become a traitor and go and work for a Democrat governor. The same Mike Vera from Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, that I used to see walking around blitzed drunk out of his mind in Walmart. Yes, that is the same Mike Vera. So it doesn't surprise me at all that this absolute lush would take the same philandering behavior to the state house, to the cabinet, when he decided to throw in with Josh Shapiro, stab his own party in the back, and then decide to go and commit sexual harassment, the same way that he doesn't seem to have any loyalty to his own party, to his own ideals, or really anyone but himself. What can I say? Couldn't happen to a better couple of guys, but very interestingly, Josh Shapiro, we're told, didn't even want to stand up for something like this, paid the hush money, tried to go after the victim in this case. Why does Josh Shapiro not care about female victims, whether it's the victim of 20 stab wounds in the front or the back, or it's the female victim of sexual harassment in his own office? Plus, we haven't even gotten into how Josh Shapiro signed off on the controlled burn in East Palestine. Stay tuned, folks. We got a big show today. Mike Benz is here. Josh Shapiro, I haven't forgotten what you said about him a couple of years back. I'm not going away. Stay tuned. Human Events right back.
Yeah. Lots of things about Shapiro are going to come out. Everybody thinks they have stuff on J.D. Vance. Well, I think there's stuff on all of them. Every single one of them.
I'm sure you've seen by now the video going around that went viral, you know, the one with the Venezuelan illegal immigrant who left her receipt at the grocery store. You know, the one with the cash balance of almost $5,000 and the EBT balance of $13,000. $13,000. They are buying votes while you and I starve or decide whether or not we're going to buy food or pay bills. I didn't get to pay one single bill the month of July. Not one. My phone's about to get shut off. All of my credit card companies are calling me. This bitch gets $13,000 for food, $5,000 for cash. This isn't Trump's America, fuckers. This is Biden's fucking problem. This is Camel Toe's problem. But you want to vote her in because of your reproductive rights. I'm a good person, but I'm about to do some bad shit. I'm fucking done. So if none of you pussies are going to stand up, I will. At least for myself and my family. Because fuck this. Like, all the way, fuck this.
If I was interviewing her, I would ask her what she really thinks. I would say, tell us how you really feel. That's what I would say to her. And then I'd give her like 30 minutes to just unload it all. Yeah. Yeah. Is she trying to intimidate that other woman? No, because it's the woman was never identified by anybody as to who she was. She just left her receipt on the counter. And when the store clerk saw that there was over $13,000 in food stamps and over $4,900 and something in cash for an EBT card, there were many questions. Now, if I was to go and apply, I would be denied, even though I'm not currently employed, not receiving any benefits or anything like that. I would not qualify, okay, to get food assistance, okay. However, if I did, the maximum dollar per month would be around $160. And how they expect somebody to live on $160 worth of food every month, I don't know. Well, actually, I'd live on less than that. But it would take me 20 years of being on food stamps to even equal up to that $13,000. And the thing is the one of the programs that they have here is if you don't use it in that month, it's not there the next month. It's gone. So if you got 160 and you only spent 100 of it, that other 50 to $60 disappears and you get your normal 150. You know, yeah, it's like, yeah. It's ridiculous. It is. Guys running over the little one. What's wrong with you guys?
Something we want to rock with. No, we don't.
I saw a meme once that was like, communism is such a great idea, it has to be forced.
Exactly. What do you think, sir?
I think it's scary. Communism is destructive. Every country that our communism has touched, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba, these people are fleeing their country. And if the communism is seated in America, where do we go? Everybody in the Democratic Party are aligned with communism. I, as a Nicaraguan, have suffered communism. We know the scariness of communism. And you don't need to be an intellectual to be fearful of communism. I am off the street. I'm not a politician. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. But I know living in a country that is communism, the individual is in control. The individual makes his choice freely. Communism, the government determines who you are. How can we not see the difference between having candidates that expel communism compared to the others that is saying, let me speak the way we want to speak? So I totally support not only Trump, but the opportunity to create a new environment for my son.
They heard sirens going by. That's what they went rushing out the door for. Thing was, the little guy, he was laying right there at the dog door, and they just ran him over. Just totally ran him over. They didn't care, not a care in the world. They just run him over. Yeah. All right. So, meanwhile, in North Ireland, unbelievable scenes as Protestants and Catholics put their age-old differences aside and unite against globalist-controlled immigration ruining their country. And I think that's incredible. And they rolling in there with the paddy wagons. Yeah. They're gonna do a poop and scoop. They're gonna shit themselves while they're grabbing the public and throwing them in them vans. They call it the poop and scoop. Yep. All right. Representative Corey Mills from Florida just roasted the pathetic investigation into the attempt on Trump's life. Yep.
From this director of the Secret Service.
Well, first off, it was completely unsat for the Secret Service director to try and act as if his information is going to be sufficient to the American people. What did we confirm here today? One, that we never should have had it on this actual site location without a proper advance. And if we saw that we didn't have a full presidential package, we should have moved the event 15 minutes down the road to the airport like he's done before, which is a much more secure area with less buildings with a vantage point. Myself and Congressman Eli Crane went up and we went to both of the counter sniper locations, and I laid personally right where Thomas Crooks took the shot. And I can tell you that from that building, you have a vantage point where you can see the shooter at all times. We went down to the exact location where President Trump was standing during the incident. And I can tell you the Kubota Manufacturing Center were about 420 plus yards outside of the perimeter zone, was a direct 12 o'clock shot on the president. Not to mention that there was an entire slew of buildings that was on the opposite side of the stage that also could have had snipers from that position. The entire thing was a botched incident. And you forget one key thing. The local law enforcement offered a drone capability to provide surveillance, and the Secret Service denied it. And they weren't there in the morning brief to get the comms channel frequencies, which I can tell you, I had a whistleblower come to me who was in one of the positions that said, we saw Thomas Crooks up to 20 minutes prior to the actual incident, and he had talked to his partner and said, I didn't know they let Antifa in here because of his dress and appearance. Look, this is the biggest Secret Service and security breach and failure that we have seen in our lifetimes. And we're talking about our presidential nominee, the former president who was denied counter snipers, as you pointed out. This event that took place is going to become so circumstantial when we talk about moving forward. And we're going to get to a stage, Jesse, and I can tell you this, even though Eli and I were not chosen for the task force as the most experienced members of Congress because we don't vote a certain way as leadership likes, We're going to launch our own private investigation. And I'll tell you something. It's going to get to a point, Jesse, that the evidence that we find and the gross negligence will basically put us in a place where you can't tell purposeful intent to be distinguishable from the gross negligence of the Secret Service. This is unsatisfactory, and we nearly, by milliseconds and millimeters, lost the president.
You don't trust the congressional investigation?
I think that there's some good qualified guys, but I think that what we should have been doing was a experienced task force that had people who understood the counter sniper capability. Look, I was a counter sniper with the Department of State. I have done, and I confirmed this with our former team leader, Ken Christo, as a former sergeant major who rescued Jessica Lynch. I said, how many of these have we done? He said, at least 1,000. I can tell you after my initial site survey that without a full presidential package, without a even tethered balloon surveillance capability, without a drone capability, without having local law enforcement coordination, without, you heard the people on the stage, where do we go? Where do we go? They should already know that your armored vehicle is your hardened safe room that they're going to move out. None of that was done, and I would not have approved this venue.
Last
and
question.
We need people with experience on that task force, Jesse.
Yeah, I know. You should have been on that task force, and that's a shame you're not. I'm glad you're going to do this where they left off.
Well, because I don't vote for bloated appropriation bills, Jesse. That's what it comes down to. I'm not a yes man when it comes to Congress. I vote for the American people.
What about the text? These Secret Service are getting things over text. Does that make any sense to you?
None at all. And I can tell you, we've always done where even if your local law enforcement that we're coordinating with doesn't have a radio, which is somehow able to get our frequencies that we're able to put a plug into, we would give them at least a standard ICOM radio, which is a line of sight radio that they could be able to utilize. The fact that we don't even know who is in the building makes me think that the same way the FBI utilized mobile cell phone pings for the J6, we should be doing the same thing by collecting all the phone numbers of our local law enforcement and our Secret Service and FBI to determine where were they at 6/11 during the time of shooting to start our placement on the real investigation of who knew what.
Yeah, it sounds like you're already.
Yep. I think when he ran across that roof, it was because he picked up a rifle that was already inside the window of the building directly behind it, where the Secret Service guy said, go and knock on that window over there and ask for Gary. Gary can give you all the info. Yeah, Gary probably gave him the gun. Yeah. All right. George says, Congressman Eli Crane is reporting that he has received a report from the DHS Inspector General revealing that the Biden-Harris regime waived the vetting process for 7 to 9 million people that they just gave visas to. Here we go.
Hey guys, I want to make a quick video about a report that I've been studying the last couple of days. This is from the Office of Inspector General from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. This is what it looks like right here. Okay, this is titled Management Alert. CBP has limited information to assess interview waived non-immigrant visa holders. All right, this report was filed on June 25th, 2024. The summary of this report is basically that there's close to 7 to 9 million people within the country with legitimate visas that were not vetted properly. Now, I know that won't come as a surprise to many of you that have been following the Harris, Biden, Mayorkas administration and just how completely horrible they've been when it comes to Homeland Security and our southern border. But this isn't really being reported. We talk about the gotaways. We talk about individuals on the terror watch list. We talk about, MS-13 gang members coming through that southern border. But this is a whole new bag of awful. Okay. Typically, the way this is supposed to work is if you're a foreigner and you want to come to the United States of America and you want to get a visa to do so, you've got to go to the consulate or the embassy in the nation that you're from and apply. You have to do an interview. You have to get your fingerprints done. You have to have a local background check, and you have to have your information run through our intelligence, collection, recordings, etc., to see if you're a criminal, a terrorist, or you want to do harm to Americans and you shouldn't be here. Unfortunately, according to this report, this type of vetting, these in-person interviews that I'm talking about with all of that has not been being done. These have been waived, and the responsibility is being put on CBP. Okay. And what's happening is these folks are being given visas, legitimate visas. They come to the U.S., come to a port of entry, and then, the CBP officer or official just looks at their visa to determine whether their visa is legitimate and then just lets them into the country, not knowing that this vetting that was supposed to take place for the issuance of this visa, not knowing that that's not being done. That's what this IG report is saying. So I don't know about you guys, but as an American, I want people that come here to work or go to school to actually have to get vetted, because I'm sure you guys with common sense can realize this is just another, another pathway that a terrorist could exploit to get into the United States of America with a legitimate visa that, and be walking around here ready to do harm to Americans. So if you want to pull this report, look at it yourself, help us expose this massive failure by this same administration that's brought to you this wide open southern border. Here's how you do it.
Yeah, so that's just giving you an idea of places that you can go to find specific information, and I think that's I think it's cool that he did that and that he showed at the end where to go in order to find it. If you don't have any sound, refresh. Okay, this is what I'm gonna tell you. If your sound goes out, try just refreshing the screen. Okay. And let me give you another clue. Okay. When you're on Facebook or you're on, actually, I think all of them, I think all the platforms do it. But here, I'm going to give you an example. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull up today's live stream on here. Okay. And I'm going to show you something that you can do. And, because a lot of people tell me you got connection issues, things like that. All right. So let me go to my channel and go to today's podcast. And then I want to make sure and I want to mute it. Okay. So, so a lot of people, you're going to go to look at, look at somebody's podcast and everything. Although it's great to have really freaking awesome audio, video, chat, everything else. I'm waiting on this thing here to come up. There we go. So there's the chat. So first thing I always do whenever I go to, as soon as I go here, the first thing I do is I automatically go and I click live chat. Okay. Reason that I do that is because a lot of times there's going to be comments in here that normally I would not see being in top chat. Top chat just means the most prevalent conversations are the people who comment the most. Get that top feed. Okay. Top chat. Okay. So what I'm going to recommend is to go to live chat, because there'll be people there that are chatting and asking questions that generally you would not see. Right? Okay. Now I'm going to show you another trick. Although it's great to have awesome video, okay, I'm telling you, go into the quality, okay, and that's you go to the little wheel down there at the bottom of the screen, okay, click that, you'll see where it says quality, okay, and change your quality. Drop the quality. I'd say drop it down to 480. I mean, unless I'm showing you something that you need to have like super duper high definition clarity and visual for, reduce that, okay, because that's going to reduce how much bandwidth YouTube is using in order to send you that signal. Okay. So it oftentimes will help fix some of the problems that you guys are experiencing, because everybody's looking for that 1080p and, you know, the best quality video. You know, honestly, most of the time we're reading text, so I could care less about how good the quality of video is. I mean, we've shown videos on here that are literally, you know, blurry, you know, but the audio on it is great, and we're able to get the gist of what's being said and done. So I'm going to recommend to you, you know, that if you are having problems with connections wise, drop it down to 480. And if 480 is working, but you could use a little bit more, then drop it down to 360. Okay. It's like, and believe me, you want to be on like 360 or 180 when I turn my camera on, because I might break your screen. Okay. You know, you think you're bad breaking mirrors. Listen, I break screens. Okay. You know, it's you know, yeah. So, yeah, that's what happens when you get old. You get funny looking. And half the time people break their screens because they're laughing so hard that they knock something over and it breaks the screen, or they throw the damn screen against the wall because I'm just not funny, you know, one or the other. So it's all right. Again, if you're having audio problems, instead of rebooting your computer, okay, go into your sound settings. Okay, this is another thing that I discovered. Okay, is that sometimes the computer decides what speakers you get to use, but if you go in and you click in the settings for your output device and then just select your speakers, sometimes that will kick it right back on, and it will makes it easy, you know. Yeah, I got a face for radio. I absolutely have a face for radio. I've been saying that for years, even when I was making commercials. Yeah. It was, everybody said, man, we heard your commercial. And I was like, yeah, thank God you didn't see it on TV. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I got a face for radio. And they agreed with me. So, you know, I was going by public opinion. Okay. All right. All right. You know, every once in a while, it's always nice to get reminders of the things that Trump was doing in, you know, when he had the White House. Okay. The different events that he would hold. Okay. You know, this is a prime example of that. This video I'm going to show you here, and most of you have already seen this. And this is back, you know, I believe this was 2018. If I'm not mistaken. And he had young black men and women from all over the country invited him to the White House. Some of them were young ones that were just becoming entrepreneurs and trying to figure out, you know, a direction, you know, and having a president who was business orientated. Okay. We're able to get successful advice from him. Terrence Williams, the comedian, okay, you know, he went from just doing comedy and promoting Trump to when he saw what happened with Aunt Jemima, what did he do? He started Cousin T's pancake batter, you know. And was literally just throwing it right back at them. He was one of the young entrepreneurs that were present at this meeting. But this one young man that's going to speak here, and if you really listen to what he's saying and how he ends his speech, okay, how he ends his little minute, because there's only a minute of the clip, okay, how he ends it and what he thanks Trump for is the key point of everything that he talked about leading up to this point.
First of all, this is what the news won't show. We would like to thank you for everything that you've done for the African American community so far. We thank you for criminal justice reform. We thank you for the lowest black unemployment rate in this country, sir. And finally, most importantly, sir, thank you for saving America, and thank you.
Look into this.
Thank you. Thank you. Finally, sir, thank you for taking on the fake news media, sir.
That was, and the kid got choked up about it. He got choked up about it because he realized what Donald Trump was saying in regards to the fake stream media, okay, was so important to that young man's awakening and to the lies and the deception that have been placed upon him for years. He recognized that, Donald Trump woke a lot of people up to the fake news. Okay. We wouldn't have really known. Hey, be good, Jacob. Hi, Raphael. How you doing, buddy? Why don't you go ahead and go get laid down? Go lay down in front of the air conditioner. Go on now. Okay. Total brain fart as to where I was, but let's go ahead and finish this out.
Thank you, Ben. And that's from the heart. That's from the heart. That's what it's all about.
These people lied to this kid for so many years, and he fell for it over and over and over again. And that was his awakening moment. Okay. That was his awakening moment when he realized that everything that Trump was saying about the mainstream media was 100% accurate and true, and that they really did, have this effect of, kids getting their lives back, So, all right, here we go. Next one, Jesse Waters.
Fox News alert. The Secret Service held its first press conference since Donald Trump was nearly executed on live TV. After stonewalling the media and congressional investigators for 3 weeks, Director Ronald Rowe made a shocking admission. Watch.
Can you confirm that this was the first 2024 campaign event that counter sniper teams were assigned to the former president?
It was the first time Secret Service counter snipers were deployed to support the former president's detail.
The former president of the United States and the nominee as the Republican, the man who Democrats and the media have been labeling a clear and present danger to democracy, Hitler and a dictator, wasn't given Secret Service counter sniper teams at his campaign rallies for the last 2 years. That means when they put Trump on trial in Manhattan, every day when he returned from court to Trump Tower, there were no Secret Service counter snipers. The whole world knew Trump's schedule and location for 6 weeks in a city with thousands of windows and high rises. No Secret Service counter snipers. That means when Trump was in the Bronx, no Secret Service counter snipers. Anyone could have climbed onto a tree, could have gone onto a rooftop with a gun. What about when he went to the bodega in Harlem after court? He's enveloped by buildings, hundreds of windows, any one of which a rifle could have fired from. No Secret Service counter snipers. So why all of a sudden, after 2 years of no Secret Service counter snipers, they showed up in Butler? And that was the rally where there was an attempt on his life. After the assassination attempt, the intelligence community leaked an exclusive to their friends at CNN, saying the reason they added counter snipers to Butler was because of an Iranian threat to Trump's life. But that doesn't make any sense, because there's been an Iranian fatwa out for Trump since he whacked Soleimani. That was over 4 years ago. And when the feds were pressed about this, they admitted there wasn't any new intelligence from Iran. What a coincidence. The Secret Service surrounding Trump's been an illusion. We believe these agents were in constant communication with each other using the latest technology we didn't even know about. Turns out the Secret Service counter sniper team in Butler never had radios that day.
You mentioned that there were text messages from Butler ESU to U.S. Secret Service counter snipers. I'm curious if that is routine. What was the plan to relay information from locals to the Secret Service initially? What is the protocol?
With respect to the counter snipers, they were using cellular or telephone text communications. At this point, moving forward, what I have directed now is that everybody should be using the radio net.
If you see a man with a gun on the roof, do you have time to text your counter snipers? Wouldn't it be a lot easier if you could just radio into their earpiece armed threat on the roof of the AGR building? Are those counter snipers up on the roof just for show? And it looks like these guys had their phones on silent, because when the locals alerted the Secret Service team leader, we still don't know who that is, that there was a suspicious person with a rangefinder creeping around the AGR building, it took the team leader 8 minutes to text the counter sniper team. 8 minutes is a long time. The counter snipers, if they even looked at their phones, saw this just 7 minutes before Trump took the stage. But did they even look at their phones? We don't know. They won't tell us. When the locals spotted crooks on the roof with a rifle, they radioed it into the Secret Service site leader. And the director claims the site leader never got it.
It was so apparent to me that in this incident, in the final 30 seconds, which has been the focus of what happened before the assailant opened fire, there was clearly radio transmissions that may have happened on that local radio net that we did not have. And so we have to do a better job of co-locating, leveraging that counterpart system, and this is going to drive our operations going forward.
Translation, the Secret Service set up a walkie-talkie system with the locals that they weren't in on. It's like whisper down the lane. And when the news finally gets to the Secret Service, they text their counter sniper guys. That system's destined to fail. They're telling us that the counter sniper team didn't know there was a man on the roof with a gun until shots rang out. That's what they're telling us. Even as we watch videos of Trump supporters screaming, "There's a man with a gun on the roof," the director was caught in another lie. He claimed the Secret Service briefed the locals the morning of the rally.
In the morning of July 13th, a site briefing was conducted with Secret Service personnel and law enforcement partners supporting the event.
But that's not what the locals told us.
We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
Secret Service has never talked to any of our people either before the rally that day or to this moment has ever talked to us in regards to what our actions were that day.
The Secret Service hired these guys to protect the president's life, never briefed them that day, never talked to them that day, and haven't talked to them at all since the shooting. What a convenient way not to leave a trail. The security for this rally was overseen by the Secret Service Pittsburgh field office. And according to a whistleblower who spoke to Senator Hawley's office, there was a female decision maker, but we can't confirm a name at this point. Whoever was responsible for this on the ground is being protected. And Director Rowe says they're actually the victim here.
If you can describe the Pittsburgh field office and their level of experience, especially in preparing for events like this, and also have they explained their thinking and how they defined the perimeter that day?
Sure. Thanks, Holmes. You know, our Pittsburgh field office, I don't think there's anybody in the Secret Service who is feeling this more than the men and women of our Pittsburgh field office. And I've met with them. And they are down right now. It's an open wound that they are carrying. They are a very experienced office. And what I will say is they are cooperating with the mission assurance. They are definitely down right now.
Oh, they're down right now. The poor little Pittsburgh field office. Maybe we can get them therapy dogs. Trump almost took a bullet to the brain. He's the one with the open wound. And the only reason he's still alive isn't because of the Secret Service and the poor little Pittsburgh field office. It's because he got lucky and turned his head to the right. The entire Pittsburgh field office should be placed on administrative leave, have all their electronics seized, and be put under formal investigation. But the director hasn't axed anybody. And the people in charge of the Butler rally security are still doing security at rallies. And a new report from Real Clear Politics says the agents who swarmed Trump after he was shot, most of them weren't even his regular detail. Susan Crabtree says the group was made up of various field office agents who don't train together. Is that why agents who surrounded Trump sounded so confused? If you needed another reason to vote in this election, it's this. If Kamala is elected, the Trump assassination attempt investigation will be bottlenecked. Donald Trump told me that if he's elected, he'll declassify everything about the attempt on his life. So if you want to know what happened this July, you know what to do in November. Congressman Corey Mills joins us now. Corey, what did you hear today from this director of the Secret Service?
Well, first off, it was completely unsat for the Secret Service director to try and act as if his information is going to be sufficient to the American people. What did we confirm here today? One, that we never should have had it on this actual site location without a proper advance. And if we saw that we didn't have a full presidential package, we should have moved the event 15 minutes down the road to the airport like he's done before, which is a much more secure area with less buildings with a vantage point. Myself and Congressman Eli Crane went up and we went to both of the counter sniper locations, and I laid personally right where Thomas Crooks took the shot. And I can tell you that from that building, you have a vantage point where you can see the shooter at all times. We went down to the exact location where President Trump was standing during the incident. And I can tell you the Kubota Manufacturing Center, we're about 420 plus yards outside of the perimeter zone, was a direct 12 o'clock shot on the president. Not to mention that there was an entire slew of buildings that was on the opposite side of the stage that also could have had snipers from that position. The entire thing was a botched incident. And you forget one key thing. The local law enforcement offered a drone capability to provide surveillance, and the Secret Service denied it. And they weren't there in the morning brief to get the comms channel frequencies, which I can tell you, I had a whistleblower come to me who was in one of the positions that said, we saw Thomas Crooks up to 20 minutes prior to the actual incident, and he had talked to his partner and said, I didn't know they let Antifa in here because of his dress and appearance. Look, this is the biggest Secret Service and security breach and failure that we have seen in our lifetimes. And we're talking about our presidential nominee, the former president who was denied counter snipers, as you pointed out. This event that took place is going to become so circumstantial when we talk about moving forward. And we're going to get to a stage, Jesse, and I can tell you this, even though Eli and I were not chosen for the task force as the most experienced members of Congress because we don't vote a certain way as leadership likes, we're going to launch our own private investigation. And I'll tell you something, it's going to get to a point, Jesse, that the evidence that we find and the gross negligence will basically put us in a place where you can't tell purposeful intent to be distinguishable from the gross negligence of the Secret Service. This is unsatisfactory, and we nearly, by milliseconds and millimeters, lost the president.
You don't trust the congressional investigation?
I think that there's some good qualified guys, but I think that what we should have been doing was a experienced task force that had people who understood the counter sniper capability. Look, I was a counter sniper with the Department of State. I have done, and I confirmed this with our former team leader, Ken Christo, is a former sergeant major who rescued Jessica Lynch. I said, how many of these have we done? He said, at least 1,000. I can tell you after my initial site survey that without a full presidential package, without a even tethered balloon surveillance capability, without a drone capability, without having local law enforcement coordination, without, you heard the people on the stage, where do we go? Where do we go? They should already know that your armored vehicle is your hardened safe room that they're going to move to move out. None of that was done, and I would not have approved this venue.
Last question.
We need people with experience on that task force, Jesse.
Yeah, I know. You should have been on that task force, and that's a shame you're not. I'm glad you're going to do this where they left off.
Well, because I don't vote for bloated appropriation bills, Jesse. That's what it comes down to. I'm not a yes man when it comes to Congress. I vote for the American people.
What about the text? These Secret Service are getting things over text. Does that make any sense to you?
None at all. And I can tell you, we've always done where even if your local law enforcement that we're coordinating with doesn't have a radio, which is somehow able to get our frequencies that we're able to put a plug into, we would give them at least a standard ICOM radio, which is a line of sight radio that they could be able to utilize. The fact that we don't even know who is in the building makes me think that the same way the FBI utilized mobile cell phone pings for the J6, we should be doing the same thing by collecting all the phone numbers of our local law enforcement and our Secret Service and FBI to determine where were they at 6/11 during the time of shooting to start our placement on the real investigation of who knew what.
Yeah, it sounds like you're already ahead of the investigation as it stands. Corey Mills, thank you so much. As always, have a great weekend, and please keep up the great work.
It appears that he's ahead of the game, but there's more. All right. This is in the Bronx. I thought this was an interesting story. Colin Rugg put this out this morning. Just in, Bronx prosecutor suddenly resigns after allegedly being caught trying to meet up with a young boy. William C.C. Kemp-Neal quit his job at the Bronx District Attorney's Office after Dads Against Predators posted the video below. The men in the video accused Kemp-Neal of trying to meet up with a 13-year-old. William Kemp-Neal worked here as an ADA from June 28th, 2020 until July 19th, 2024. He resigned from the office. A statement from the DA Darcel Clark's office said Kemp-Neal has not been charged with a crime. Well, no, they just fired him and they're going to hide it. Because, well, he lost his job. That's enough. No, the dude needs to go to prison. This guy put him in a chokehold or a full Nelson. You ain't running away. We're going to wait till the cops get here. Yeah, kind of thing. So, but.
Excuse me, everybody! This man right here! Claim to be the 13-year-old boy! This man is a pedophile, and you're saying
Marcus is a pedophile trying to meet a 13-year-old boy. Let's go. Let's go. Get his bitch ass. He's trying to fuck a 13-year-old boy. Oh, no. Yes, you were. Hey, what you here doing, Marcus? You trying to meet a 13-year-old boy? Yeah? You trying to be a 13-year-old boy, Marcus? No.
this man's here to be the 13-year-old boy!
You want to take him to get a milkshake, right, Marcus? No, I didn't. You didn't, Marcus? Now you got your ass in a fucking full Nelson right here. Getting yoked up. Child predator in the Bronx.
He's
trying to meet a 13-year-old boy.
He's in a headlock is what he's in. He's getting ready to get put into a half Nelson. And there's a half Nelson.
That's what you get for trying to meet a fucking little boy. Child predator. Child predator right here. Yeah, you trying to get a milkshake with him, huh? You trying to get real familiar.
What you trying to do?
I was trying. Hey, get your ass choked the fuck up here.
Yeah. Trying to meet up with a baby. Yep. And this is the kind of stuff that needs to go on. Actually, I should have checked to see if there was any additional information. Footballer Worldwide says these dads are absolutely elite in my eyes. That is something that would be covered up in the liberal media on purpose to save the party in power in New York. New Yorkers seem to vote for this type of behavior and find it acceptable, or these dads shouldn't have to do this. And they're right. It's see. Looking to see if maybe there's an extension video. You'll sometimes find them in, more additions and everything to it. So, is Bronx? Here is one. Paul A. Zapula says, interesting question. Is the Bronx prosecutor Kemp-Neal funded by Soros? Because we know how many DAs in New York are. We also know Soros open border policies enable human trafficking and child abuse. Yep. So, all right, back to it. This is a serious U.S. government voting on new regulations this November. And this is from a rancher down Texas way.
So this November, the EPA is going to be voting on a bill to implement new water treatment programs into all local butcher shops all the way up to the big packers. Now, these new water treatment programs are going to be costing up to $2.3 million just for all the new equipment, and an additional $500,000 to get them installed and regulated each year. This is an attack on our food system if you were trying to buy locally or from your local producers or from the local butcher shops. They simply do not have the money or the revenue to support this. So in a roundabout way, they're taking away your freedom and your right and our right to sell meat directly to the consumer. They're taking away our rights to buy what we want and consume and put in our bodies what we would like. They're forcing us into a box and forcing you guys to buy from the big packers that control 85% of the industry right now. I'm curious to see what y'all think about this. And as always, guys, buy American and buy local.
Yep. Nice warnings. Nice warnings for everybody. You know, it needs to get done. Let's see. Okay. Everybody needs to listen to this, says MJ Truth Ultra. Everybody needs to listen to this. How will Trump remove so many illegal aliens from America, and could a lot of them leave voluntarily?
They don't want to go. I have hard enough time trying to put 3 kids to sleep at night. How is that? You have 21,000 agents dwindling down, many of them looking to retire or get out. Yes. So how do the Republicans manage to pull this off, especially when you talk about the uniparty? I think that's the undercurrent of all of this, right? Which is President Trump can, of course, want to move in that direction. He can surround himself with like-minded individuals, but you've got this like immovable force of the uniparty. And maybe through executive action, he can do some of this, but he's going to need the manpower. And I've been thinking about this. ICE going door to door, making arrests. I know that the Democrats are going to go wall to wall coverage. MSNBC, CNN, they're going to show jackboots, kicking indoors, and they're going to say it's Trump's Gestapo. They're going to label it that way. And I know that that's coming. That's how they're going to paint it. And they think they need to be strong about it. But how are they going to marshal the manpower to do something like this?
I think, let's say 50 million. That's a round number, okay? But I believe that's a true number. I think when he tells everyone to get out, I think a large segment of that population, maybe half, are going to leave. Okay,
like here's your opportunity.
You got to get out. If you don't, we're going to tag you, and you're never coming back to America, no matter what. Marital documents come in forbidden. You're not coming. You have kids here. It doesn't matter. You never come back, never, and they'll leave. How do I know this is going to happen? Is because it's already been done. Eisenhower did this in Operation Wetback. 1.4 million illegal aliens from Mexico and Central America left voluntarily. Wow. So yes, this is not something that has never been done. That's the beauty of it. We've already done it. Donald Trump, first day in office, put pressure back on the Northern Triangle and Mexico nations and say, shut it down. If you don't shut it down, the caravans and people coming up, you get no foreign aid, you're out, done. And they'll bend the knee like they did. Donald Trump will else turn around and he'll hire people like Tom Homan, who does not care. He does not care about cops or their feelings. He's going to get an edict from the president. He's going to enforce it. I know he is. I don't know if he's going to be the ICE director or head of DHS. I don't know, but he's going to one of those two. And then he's going to go and then you have 25 million left. You have, and we'll go down these numbers. You have hundreds of thousands of terrorists. You have over 100,000 identified PLA soldiers in America. You have roaming gangs of Venezuelans. Insane asylums have been released. You have gang members all over America, millions. You are going to have to locate them and extract them from our nation. And it is going to be a bloodbath.
And I think that's going to be part of the hard time that we're going to experience. Because the only way that you can ensure the safety of the public during an operation like that is going to be to shut down the country. So it's and it's going to be something where grocery stores are going to be closed, gas stations are going to be closed, and I hope I'm full on my gas when it happens. So I ain't got to worry about it. Yeah, I'd like to get a 100-gallon tank out here. I got one that's 35, and you crank the handle and it pumps out through a gas handle. But I pretty much don't use it because of the fact that the generators are in different places. So I'd have to either wheel the generator down, and they're not little ones. They're 180 something pounds each, and then when they're full and all the parts are on them, they're not easy to haul around. Let's just say that. So so this lady here, she kind of got busted. Johnny Midnight said, these people just think that they can come on your property and take down your Trump sign or anything else. Karen.
Might want to think twice, lady.
I'm on the board here.
You might want to think twice before you touch my private property. Step away from my sign. Step away from my sign.
That's fine. I'll take a picture of you.
Ma'am.
Thank you very much. I'd like to be sure I know who put the sign here.
It's in your best interest. Yep. Step away. Just let you know. Follow his advice. Keep doing this.
That's fine. I'll just take a picture of you with the sign.
That's fine. The police have already been here several times.
Put it up. It'll be good to know.
Yeah, and you're the one who started taking my sign down, too, on video. You're a member of the board, and you're taking my sign down.
Why did you put it up?
That's none of your business. If you could have asked me ahead of time, I'd have had a cordial conversation with you, but you came up here and took it upon yourself to remove my sign.
Why did you use the bad language?
It's none of your business, ma'am. I would have had a cordial conversation with you if you had come up to me and asked me about the sign. But you took it upon yourself. You took it upon yourself to remove it.
Hello.
Hello.
And who are you?
She's on the board.
Who are you?
I'm with the news.
Well, why are you even here?
Like I told you, I'm with the news. I'm covering the story right now.
Which news?
Rabbit Hole News, ma'am.
Well, I'm sorry to know that he used such language.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that someone on the
board of their neighborhood has the right to come on and take your property, steal your property, because they got a different viewpoint. Yeah. We already listened to him lie to us enough today. Libs of TikTok shared this out. Mother shares how she encouraged her daughter to mutilate her breast. This is what happens when you affirm a mental delusion rather than be truthful and address the mental illness. Now her body has been damaged forever.
Maybe this is just a phase. Hope it's a phase. And Quincy says it's not a phase. Okay. Will you think about it? Yes. 3 years later, I am standing in the surgeon's office because Quincy cannot wait until they're 25. They are now 22, and the binders that have been pressing their breasts down are not working. They're starting to hurt, and they're going to get top surgery. And as we're going through the obligatory paperwork, it says, you know that this is elective surgery, right? And Quincy slams the pen down and says, no, it's not, Mom, this is not elective surgery. Just shake these tits off of me. And in that moment, I could feel the imprisonment of my child in the body that I gave them. And I'm thinking, oh, great. And I'm cramming you into a little blue dress, and I'm saying she and her and she and her, and I'm the fucking warden of your prison. And I didn't know it. Quince, we cannot argue with the insurance companies right now. If you want to get the surgery, honey, you got to sign that paperwork. Check the box. So they do.
Yeah. And your daughter is going to suffer her entire life when she realizes what kind of a mistake she made, what she's done to herself, and yeah. And you let her do it. You let her do it. Yeah. I already covered that one. This was an interesting one here that I thought everybody should see. New footage appears to show a second shooter firing shots at President Trump from inside the building that Crooks was on top of. The FBI Secret Service are telling us not to believe our own eyes. Republicans better look at this. So let's take a peek. want to make this bigger. Come on, play. Why aren't you playing? Oh, you don't want me to be able to play it, huh? What's up with that? What's up with that? Yeah, they very well could have been. Who had these photographs? Because these people were all out here and they're recording Trump speaking. See him holding up his phone there, recording, pointing in that direction. So I'd like to know more about this. Who is Alex Shepard? Alexander Shepard is a Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah. Oh, it's the lens flare. Time to wake up, people. Can't wait to do a live on EMPCO. It's time. Oh, see, now you got my curiosity. EMPCOE. You're going to make me look it up there, script. Plasma event, aka EMCO, is a theory that a plasma reset will destroy the dome and the firmament, revealing the inner Earth and Nibiru. The author claims that Brian Lambert, a proponent of, let's see here. Hang on a minute. Okay, where was it? Okay, the plasma event is a cataclysm theory. Perhaps it's the most vocal proponent was Brian Austin, aka BAL33. Brian and his partner Kimberly were found dead 10 March 2021. His death was ruled a self-inflicted gunshot to the head. Mia's cause of death has not been disclosed, but she may have been suffocated with a towel. The general PSYOP functions by corralling mainstream detractors into identity and belief cults. These identity groups provide a false sense of security and validation for a vast and growing number of people who know at some level that they have been betrayed, and they're instinctively seeking what the parasitic class have been destroying for decades: community. So it was perhaps the Brian Lambert story is an example of this. Lambert was, I think, active in the flat Earth community for some time before he integrated EMPCO theory. Was he perhaps a surveillance state operative tasked with grooming the FE movement, flat Earth movement, and then went rogue by revealing something he shouldn't have? Brought himself a Full Metal Jacket retirement package. Doesn't seem too unlikely. The EMCO theories emulates with Dr. Chan Thomas of 1963 heliocentric cataclysm theory, specifically historic periodicity, magneto hydrodynamics as part of the mechanism in the plasma as the possible trigger. The summary is followed by one of Lambert's videos published shortly before his death. Is there one here?
Part 1. Flat, concave, spherical, hollow, and expanding Earth. Everything solved in catastrophe. The 100% correct working model of everything in the coming worldwide catastrophe. With 100% certainty, a worldwide catastrophe is headed our way. It can only happen on a certain date and in a particular year. Civilization will end from this catastrophe and then be rebuilt. I know because our true history shows it has happened dozens of times. The New World Order is not what everyone thinks it is. I will explain everything so you can prepare for the catastrophe and the New World Order / Golden Age that will follow. Time is becoming very short, and we will explain who, what, where, when, why, and how. All your questions will be answered through my 100% correct working model of everything.
I don't think I want to sit here and listen to this guy read cue cards. You know, but I guess there's a bunch of different things. Yeah. But here we go.
Yeah, I'm amazed. God is kind of upset with me probably because I woke up and didn't say my prayers this morning, man. But I got woke up by this again in my face. What would you do? Look at this. Look at this. Look at that ball of light coming out of there. That's the sun. Coming out of what, though? Man, California ain't talking nothing about this. That's why I feel like I'm in a land of weirdos.
And that is far from the only example of the second suns being sighted. It seems like they are being spotted more and more with frequent regularity in the last couple years. But I think it's a sign of this cycle of our realm, as depicted in ancient times in petroglyphs in India, Arizona, and even excerpts from the sightings of it in the 1600s. And even after that, many newspapers historically reference this second sun, sometimes even more being sighted in the skies. Some say it's Nibiru, some say we're living in a binary system. Whatever it is, I think it shows once again, history most certainly repeats itself. Question everything, friends.
Yeah. That's not a lens flare. That was multiple. Yeah. All right. So, American Firearms Association slams Kyle Rittenhouse.
We want to address something really quickly here about this whole Kyle Rittenhouse situation. Here's the brass tacks. Gun owners have 90 days left. We've got 90 days until this election is here, and there are two people on the ballot, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Nobody else matters. No other parties matter. No other candidates matter. No other candidates from the early 2000s matter anymore. It's Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. So here's what we need to do. Gun owners from every walk of life, from every party, from every faction, whether they've used a gun in a self-defense situation or not, must unite all the way across the board to stop Kamala Harris's gun confiscation agenda from ever being implemented. Full stop. She has told all of America in the last week that she wants nothing less than the total destruction of our Second Amendment. She wants AR-15 bans. She wants a national red flag gun confiscation law. She wants mandatory gun buybacks. She wants government jackboots kicking down your doors and taking away your ability to stay free. Never Trump dumbasses like Kyle's groomer here, Dudley Brown from the National Association of Gun Rights, are total fools who cannot see what time it is in America. They should be ignored completely and totally. We cannot afford to get sidetracked by that kind of stupid foolishness. Kyle, fix this F up. Dudley, go away and never come back. And gun owners, like President Trump said with his fist in the air, it's time to fight.
Yep. To keep your right to party. Yep. All right. I think that's where I'm going to end it for today. You guys have had enough of me, I think. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Let's look at the new ad first. That's what my gas looks like right there. Yeah. Real shame. These are things that everybody's experiencing, you know. All right.
Community is to dismantle the black family. So aside from her record as a prosecutor, why don't we ask Mrs. Willie Brown if Kamala Harris cares about black families?
I think that's a great way to end it right there. Oh my Lord. Yep. That is absolutely the single most savage moment of 2024 campaign cycle so far today. Yeah. Yeah. Let's ask the former mayor's wife, Mrs. Willie Brown, if she thinks that Kamala Harris is all about saving the black American family. Yeah. All right. Remember, the Creator loves you. His Son, the Christ, loves you, and I love you. We'll catch you again tomorrow. All right. You guys have a good night. Peace.